Barkley, a little shovel, looking for an edge, gets it, Saquon Barkley, first down, Barkley, oh! Saquon, touchdown!
Live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, this is 365 Sports.
First and 10, Hunt, again, slips through, goes all the way for the touchdown!
Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Allen Samuels House of Travel, the official travel sponsor of 365 Sports.
Hurts, gets a shot, Hurts, in!
Super Bowl 59 coverage is also brought to you by Batteries Plus, Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine, TexasBeefHouse.com, Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Bird Culchin Ford, Ideal MRI, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Tradesman Services, Richard Carr Motors.
Rolling, Mahomes, he can keep it, he can get there, he's in for the touchdown!
365 Sports is produced by Garrett Ross and Emery Winter.
Design run, Hurts, delay, Hurts, in, touchdown, Eagles!
Now here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
All right, here we go. Good afternoon, and we are live from Super Bowl 59, Radio Row inside NFL Media Headquarters. David Smoak with Paul Catalina. Craig doing what he does. He's not here with us. Garrett Ross is, Emery Winter is, and you are, and we appreciate those of you joining us. We will hear from Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robertson here in a moment. Also, the executive director of the College Football Playoff, Rich Clark, will join us at the bottom of the hour. We will also look at a lot of college football notes, Big 12 basketball notes, and a couple of others. Ryan Hogue, who was in 2003 Mr. Irrelevant, the last player drafted. He is here on Radio Row with our buddy Q in Vegas. He joined Paul Catalina and also Chad President, the new football coach at Temple High School. There's a lot to get to. Chuck Cooperstein on Yes the Trade. We're not going to get into that too much early, but it was a bizarre morning for me. Sunday morning, I wake up and I'm like, am I still awake? Or am I still sleeping? I did not understand it. I still don't understand it, but Chuck might be able to help us understand it just a little bit before it's said and done. We'll have a lot of different tweets on that, too. One note on the Super Bowl. The Chiefs have won 17 consecutive one-score games. 12-0 in 2024, 5-0 in the postseason and regular season a year ago. They will be the first team in NFL history to win 3 straight Super Bowls. We know that. Patrick Mahomes passed Joe Montana for second most playoff wins behind Brady. John Elway, of course, who passed John Elway for the second most, and also passed John Elway for the second most playoff winning drives with 7. Brady had 35. Of course, that's a nut-crazy, unbelievable Hall of Fame career for Tom Brady. But good afternoon. We are live in New Orleans.
Yeah, it's been today's the calm before the storm. Tomorrow it picks up. Today's the day where you stretch. You know, this is where you get loose. You test everything out. You make sure it's working. Everybody starts getting set up. People come in slowly. There's not that many guests walking around comparatively to the rest of the week. Monday and Friday are the quiet days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday get progressively louder as the week goes on. So far, so good. I don't know if we've ever been in a better spot in a Super Bowl than we are right now. You'll get to see where our guests are sitting, and we got a cool setup there. We can finally hang our banner back up again
behind us instead of on the table.
Yeah, which has been great. We've already got one signature on it, which is something we used to do and then weren't able to do anymore because it just got weird. And I have to tell a story. Smokey, will you hand me the prop there? We're going to get this out of the way really early.
I would, but my left shoulder is on fire right now.
Okay, so this is the helmet, the 365 Sports helmet from GreenGridiron.com. And Green Gridiron is one of our fantastic sponsors. And look, if you can do a custom helmet, and this is a great way to talk about them, or you remember the helmets on our set, they're all pretty much from GreenGridiron.com. Like 80% of them are Green Gridiron helmets. So we have 2 cameras, 2 tripods, a mixer, a video mixer, a monitor. There's a lot of things that we were in charge of bringing. The banners.
Get to the damn point.
No. This is, you can't complain. You had one thing.
No,
that you had
I
to
had
bring.
a backpack and my laptop.
No. You got off the plane.
Sawyer Robertson ready yet, Garrett? I think we're going to.
I'm looking.
Okay.
I'm looking.
Yeah. So you want this to be over. You took this very nice, valuable helmet. You were in charge of carrying this.
And I did.
And you carried it
all the way to the bathroom
all
after
the way
we got
to
off
the
the
men's
flight.
room at
God.
New Orleans Airport and left it in there. And then we had to wait the better part of 40 minutes for them to go get it, because once you leave once you leave the deplaning area, the arriving flights area,
I was
you
already
can't get back in.
It's a pretty good walk, but I started, and Emery looks at me as you guys are down on the escalator down near the baggage claim area, and he said, "You're peeing." I had peed, and what did he say to me? Where's the helmet? And I just panicked, went right back up, and I was going to run right through security, and this big dude went, no.
Yeah.
But fortunately, they found it. It's a beautiful helmet. A lot of people asked about it, too. People that wanted to take a picture of the helmet, not me. But, yeah, I fumbled.
One thing.
I recovered it, though.
One thing.
I recovered it, though.
One thing.
I did. Okay. Sawyer Robertson, Rich Clark, Chuck Cooperstein on the Doncic trade. And again, Chad President, who I spoke with over the weekend, the new football coach at Temple, played at Tulsa, local kid that has done really well. A lot of things to get to. Now, I want to happy birthday, by the way. Sawyer Robertson's birthday was over the weekend. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central, the Big 12 football schedule will be released, so we'll have that tomorrow. That's one of the things on the table as well. Yes, it was an absolutely bizarre, stunning in some ways weekend in college basketball, especially in the Big 12. We'll talk about some of those games after Rich Clark at the end of this hour with what Baylor did, what Kansas didn't do, and then also what Texas Tech did to Houston, and then Kansas State has been red hot ever since Scott Drew visited their locker room after the loss in Waco a couple of weeks ago. We are now joined, in fact, by Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robertson with us. We're in New Orleans. Sawyer is in Central Texas. Sawyer, thank you very much for your time. I just mentioned happy birthday. Did you have a great birthday?
Yes, I did. It was awesome. Parents got to come into town. Got to hang out with them for a little bit, so it was really good.
Good for you.
I know you were on NIL Alley at the basketball game this week. I saw you signing autographs there. What is it like for your parents to come in and you're like, hey, we can't hang out for a little while. I've got to sign autographs. That's it. Like that's maybe the coolest way to big time your folks.
Yeah, thankfully I didn't have to. They were still on the way. My brother was running in his track meet in Lubbock. He ran really well, in case you guys were wondering, but they were still on the way while I was having to sign all that stuff. So I didn't have to big time.
So what's that like? That there have been times when athletes, like after the football, I think the spring game or whatever it's called now, scrimmage, sit down inside the indoor and sign autographs. But what's it like now for you to have some of these appointments and some of these parts of what you do with GXG and NIL?
It's different. I feel like I was going to have to do it eventually. I guess depending on how far, the football career carried on. But I guess the fact of doing it in college with NIL and all that stuff, it just happened a little sooner than I imagined. But it's a blessing. This is stuff you dream about doing. And so I've had a really fun time doing it with all my teammates.
Sawyer, the way that the season turned around for you guys was really kind of unbelievable in that – most times when teams are 2-4, no matter how much they like the coach, they've lost the locker room and they can't keep up with each other. But you guys never gave up on the coaching staff. What was the key to just knowing and believing in not only yourselves as players, but in those coaches to finally hit the potential that they knew you guys always had?
I think for me, especially, and obviously like all the other guys, just like those coaches, they work so hard for us, man. They're up at the facility all the time. Just the way they speak to us, the way the passion that they have for the game, and for us as individuals, like you can see how much they care and how important it is to them. And so when you see that, like, those are people you want to go to war with, and those are the people you want to go to war for. And so I think that's kind of what we saw as players. And then to play for the players, that's easy, right? Because you're bleeding for one another, you're sweating with one another. You know, you do all that with one another, but especially seeing how hard the coaches work for us, that's kind of what led to that.
You have momentum despite the loss to LSU. I know that didn't go well. You had a huge game. It just didn't go well overall. You lost the game. But does that momentum, or did the momentum of the 6-game win streak get affected at all by not winning the bowl game?
No, I don't think so at all. I think we're coming into this offseason with a lot of momentum. I think a lot of people are excited, players, coaches especially. Everybody's just excited. And, you know, I think it's showing right now with our offseason workouts. Just people are ready to get back out on the football field and start practicing again and start playing again. And so it should be really fun, and everybody's excited.
Sawyer, how much of your development as a quarterback had to also do with the nice intersection of your running backs, both finding who they were and starting to dominate there?
Yeah, it's huge, right? Everybody always talks about, like, the quarterback position, right? Always gets more blame, always gets more credit. And so having Dawson and B-Wash develop and play the way they played throughout the course of the year obviously helped me out so much, just with opening throwing lanes. You know, Josh Cameron, Howell, Monterey, Ashton, all those got Trigg. Just the seasons that they all had really made my life easy, right? So that kind of goes with quarterbacks getting more praise than what they deserve. I feel that 100%. And the running game had a big thing to do with that.
Sawyer, a lot of colleges are not holding or hosting or playing legitimate what you call spring games. A lot of them have gone to scrimmages, controlled scrimmages, even like almost modified type practices. Some are just canceling it altogether. Coach Climate at Kansas State brought up the fact that he thinks that because of the transfer portal and much more, that college football should go to like summer OTAs in June, so at least you know who you have when you're done, rather than having your roster rated or whatever. As a player, as a quarterback, how would you like to see them set up the spring into the summer before you get to August?
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't see that, haven't heard of that. I think that would be a good idea. Obviously, trying to find, you know, that window. We normally get, right now with the way the schedule's set up, we get most of the month of May off. And so I think finding the balance of figuring out something to do with that while still having a little time off before we get started again could be really, really beneficial. But I think that's a pretty good idea.
Sawyer, this is like, you know, such kind of a crazy thing when you think about like what's your roster going to be next year and all that. You guys have had like the normal attrition of guys graduating. You've had a couple guys transfer out. You've had some new guys come in. How is it from your perspective as a quarterback of being a guy that people look to help build that chemistry when you have so many new guys coming in year to year?
I think one is definitely new, right? Every year it seems like more and more guys hit the portal, are leaving, are coming in. And so I think maintaining the base group of leaders, right? You know, the guys up front on the O-line, Josh, Cameron, just like it's not just the quarterback position, but all the Bryson Washington, those guys that are going to be vocal. And then on the defensive side of the ball too, with Keaton Thomas, Cooper Land, like all those guys are pivotal in not only welcoming those guys in, but making sure that group from the season before, you know, y'all are all on the same page about what you want to accomplish the next season, in the off season, all that stuff. And so I think just maintaining that core group of leadership really helps the transition with how college football is going with the whole NIL and the transfer portal era.
What are the parts of your game, besides everything, because you're still young and you had a lot of reps, a lot of throws, and a lot of time starting at Baylor, but what are some things in particular you would like to see yourself improve on during the spring into next season?
I think, like, from a technical perspective, in throwing, like getting more from the ground and from my lower half when I throw. And that's been a battle I've been fighting since my baseball days in high school, something that, you know, I've always been dealing with. And then from like a more X's and O's aspect, my certain checks I get into versus certain looks based off what we saw this past season and what defenses had success against us doing, getting into different plays based off those looks. And so those are two things that I'm really kind of honing in on this offseason to try to set myself up for the 2025 season.
Would you consider yourself a gunslinger, or is that a compliment, or maybe that's not fair to describe you that way?
I think it's a compliment, 100%. If somebody called me a gunslinger, I would take that as a compliment. I don't know if that's how I describe my game, but yeah, no, 100% I'd take it as a compliment.
So how many times when you think you see a receiver who's open and might be open that you want to, even though you're not sure quite about the coverage, you want to try to throw a football through a keyhole? How is that kind of a positive and at times a negative?
Yeah, no, it is 100%. I think it goes into, especially for ultra competitive people, right? In my brain, I'm thinking, of course, I can fit that ball through that hole. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of equivalent to fishing, right? Sometimes you want to make a cast into a spot where you could very well lose your lure, but oftentimes that's where the biggest fish are hanging out. And so kind of that mindset, and it pays off sometimes, other times it bites you, but you just got to learn from the times that it doesn't work out.
That's a West Texas metaphor right there. I'll tell you, if there was,
I know somebody out there is gonna like that.
Yeah, that's a West Texas metaphor. I've ever heard one. You mentioned baseball, like going back to your baseball days. Did you struggle fundamentally in baseball with your throws a little bit? Because I mean, clearly your arm is not the issue, but you can maybe trust that part of your body more than all the rest of it.
Yeah, it's more of, it's not necessarily the fundamentals. It's more of putting too much stress on the arm and not helping it out with the rest of the body and relieving some of that stress, some of that pressure, trying to take care of it, but still maintaining all of the velocity and everything when you throw.
Sawyer, how much has walking across campus from one class to the next, or from workouts to the next, or whatever, how much has that changed for you the last 6 months?
It's pretty different. I try not to pay too much attention to it, but honestly, the biggest difference is just take maybe one or two more pictures here and there. Nothing too crazy, but yeah, no, that's definitely different than it was 6 months ago for sure.
Now, I think the last time we had him one-on-one was when he transferred in, right?
Oh, yeah, we had him.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
So I still need to hear, because I know you went to Mississippi State to play for the late, great Mike Leach when you went there.
Yeah.
What is your Mike Leach recruiting story? Because they are all unique and they're all awesome.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much time you guys have. I could sit here and tell Mike Leach stories all day, but my recruiting story with him is since he was at Texas Tech, I mean, all he wanted to really talk about was the Mexican food in Lubbock and where I was his favorite places when he was there. That's all he wanted to talk about. And so when I committed, I spent all day calling all these other coaches from all these other programs and telling them hey, I'm sorry, thank you for your time, but I'm going to go play at Mississippi State. I want to play for Coach Leach, all this and that. And the recruiting people at Mississippi State knew that, but I wanted to wait to tell Coach Leach. And so then I finally get through having all those other conversations, call Coach Leach and tell him, and he was like, "Oh, well, that's great. So have you tried this spot yet? They've got really good." I'm dude, what did I just do? I spent all day telling these coaches that this is the guy who's going to go play for him. This is what he said. But no, it was that was truly who he was. He was unapologetically himself, and it was such a blessing to get to play for him.
I very early on in my career, I interviewed him, and the SID said, call him. He has about 30 minutes. We wound up talking for 2 hours on the phone, and it was because he got he had walked into a different room to keep doing the interview and talking to me, and some of those on the television, and then he just started talking about that. Yeah. It was hilarious, and I don't think I'll ever do an interview that I enjoyed as much as that one.
Oh, I believe it 100%. You should try sitting in a meeting room with him every single day for a year and a half.
So if you have something to eat that is not something that is a part of what your daily routine of being a high-level athlete, if you're going to binge on something that might not be good for you, what would it be?
I am a sweet tooth. I will admit it. I love ice cream. The Nerds clusters, those little candies, those are like that. Like you eat one or two and like it doesn't stop there. I eat the whole pack sometimes. Those are really good. But I am a sweet tooth. I love candy. I try, like you said, man. I try to take it seriously, my nutrition, everything. But it gets hard sometimes, especially when we're on break and I go home and mom's got it set up on the counter. So.
All right, you got to get the little pints of Bluebell ice cream if you like it. I know there's a lot of different flavors, but do you ever have a pint of Bluebell, stick it on the counter for like 20 minutes and let it melt on the top, and then twist the top and start licking that and just put that spoon right in it?
I don't think. If I get Bluebell, I normally just take the lid off, start eating.
No, I promised you. Let it sit on the counter for like 20. Yeah, you gotta let it sit, and it gets really soft and creamy at the top. It's just, I'm telling you, you'll remember that.
Okay,
I might try it.
Sawyer,
are you a vanilla guy? Like you just go?
I do vanilla if I'm having cake, which I don't eat a lot of that anymore. I'm a chocolate, just Dutch chocolate.
Okay.
Now, are you a varieties guy? Like, do you like change it up, or do you?
I changed it up. I like the standard, vanilla chocolate. The cookie two-step is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then when I go to my grandparents' house, they've always got some kind of like special flavor, like a coffee or something like that. It's not horrible, but I would probably never get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do. I try them all, man. I love them.
Okay, so for Christmas, because I know that most people look at me and they're jealous of this physique, but for Christmas, my wife's parents, because I have the same affliction that's much worse, obviously, with ice cream. They got me a Ninja Creamy, which is this thing where you can like make ice cream with your own ice cream, and I've got all these recipes that you can do with like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, protein powder. And so there you go. So
he's going to be a guard next year.
Have you made any that are just like horrible that you can't stand?
No, I only did. I've only done one so far because it's kind of a process, and but at least for me. It's you can do it like especially if you just use the protein powder you like. It's gonna taste pretty good.
It actually sounds like a really good idea. Protein ice cream.
Sawyer, as the quarterback, I know you got to go. We appreciate your time today. As a quarterback, you don't just raise your hand and you're the leader. People gravitate to you. They watch you. They lead. They learn from you, whatever. Has that changed anything, your preparation of who you are inside the locker room or at practice?
I would say no, just because I feel like I've always kind of carried myself that way, even when I wasn't the guy. My whole thought process is if I can be the best teammate I can be, the best guy to help the team win in whatever role I'm in, that's what I'm going to do. And that was the case when I wasn't the guy. That's the case now. And I think that's what people kind of gravitate to across all positions. Like I said, not just being a quarterback, but if you're a team guy who doesn't want anything in selfish ambition, but you just want to win, that's what people gravitate to.
All right, man. Hey, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of whatever time you have until you start spring drills. We'll see you during spring practice and much more. Enjoy all of this. I hope you have time to enjoy what you're able to do now, and kind of like soak it in. And then, of course, I know you have bigger goals too. So thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. It means a lot.
Sawyer Robertson, Baylor quarterback, with us on 365 Sports. Appreciate his time. Thanks to Brent Ingram as well for lining that up. We'll have Rich Clark, the executive director of the college football playoff, here in just a moment. That's great. We're trying to get him from whatever he weighs like to 250. He'll be Dante Culpepper before it's all said and done.
I don't want him to go.
Jared Lorenzen.
I don't want him to go the way of Luka Doncic.
No,
I
was going to ask him if he was a Mavericks fan.
You get so much gravy in you that all of a sudden they send you to the Lakers.
No, I know. Yeah, that's exactly right. And we will have Chuck Cooperstein at 4:15 to discuss Luka.
You and I are both Spurs fans. Craig is a Mavericks fan.
He's not happy.
And he's not happy.
Yeah, he told us to shut it down on the group text yesterday.
But I'll tell you this. If there's anything that made me like Luka Doncic more and interview with him is that,
What?
My buddy likes some sandwiches now.
Yeah. No, he likes beer.
Yeah.
Remember that shot of him outside the locker room? He was drinking a beer, and the guy that just traded him walked up and grabbed the beer out of his hand, and Luka felt like he took his puppy dog or something, or teddy bear. All right, when we come back, Rich Clark, the College Football Playoff Executive Director. We're in New Orleans. This is 365 Sports. And Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, and by the way, Alan Samuels Travel, our agency, presenting all of what we do with travel here on 365 Sports in New Orleans, Vegas, when we've been there and elsewhere. The 2025 Ram 1500 has just been named the Truck of the Year, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year. That's the 7th time, dominating the road. You can check out the award-winning truck right now at Alan Samuels Dodge in Waco, where performance meets reliability. The all-new, fully electric Jeep Wagoneer S, luxury meets efficiency, and then the fully electric Dodge Charger Stage 1, blending legendary muscle with the future of performance, plus unmatched power, cutting-edge technology, unbeatable value. You'll find it at Alan Samuels Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat in Waco. Don't wait. Stop by. Talk to one of the sales managers or the client managers, including David Gray for new car sales and general manager Ted Teague, Loop 340 and east of 84 in Waco.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year, it's football season. Bird Colgan Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 selling truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, 47 years in a row. Come see the largest showroom in Texas and experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC. Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Rolling, Mahomes, he can keep it, he can get there, he's in for the touchdown.
Live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, this is 365 Sports. Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Allen Samuels House of Travel, the official travel sponsor of 365 Sports. Now, here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
We come to you from Super Bowl 59, Radio Row, NFL Media Headquarters, game Sunday, all of the coverage leading up to it, including our interviews from here. The first two segments, we're Sawyer Robertson, Baylor quarterback, and Lieutenant General and College Football Playoff Executive Director Rich Clark joins us on 365 Sports. General, thank you for your time. Appreciate your time. What's your favorite memory when you were in New Orleans over the years?
Oh man, my favorite memory. Well, my wife and I came here on one of our first vacations when we were married, and it was spectacular. It was my first time in New Orleans, so of course I love that. But then this year I went to the Sugar Bowl, and it was fantastic, even with all of the tragedy around. I love the way that the city of New Orleans really rebounded and stepped up, and we were able to play the game, but still respect the dignity of those victims and their families. So it was kind of a bittersweet memory, I would say. But I was really proud of how that city responded.
You know, we've been here a bunch for events, and I love to take any kind of history tour I can take. And this is really one of the most resilient cities in the entire world. I mean, if you name something that could happen to this city, it's happened to it, and they constantly bounce back.
Yes, and they did big time. The city officials, the Sugar Bowl team, everybody wanted to make sure that we could secure the stadium, that we respected everybody that was involved in that tragedy. But then they said, you know what, though? Let's bounce back. Let's make this game happen. And they did it in great fashion.
You took over. We spoke with you back in Vegas, Big 12 Media Days. You took over the college football playoff. They expanded to 12. It was a huge jump from where they were. And, of course, not everybody's always happy. Some teams get frustrated, fan bases, whatever. But you jumped in it, and you really didn't have much connection. You obviously with the Air Force, et cetera. But what was your experience, if you could summarize it, and did it go better than you thought or about what you thought?
It went better than I thought. I knew that it was going to be good. Just the format that the commissioners laid out for us was really a good recipe for success, I felt like. But it just went so much better. And I don't just mean the playoff, but even the regular season. I feel like the playoff added to the regular season to make that more exciting. And then the playoff were just great. And yeah, some people complained because we had some blowouts. That happens. But the games, I went to 8 of the games, and they were electric. And I thought it was just amazing. The ratings were good. The teams just performed well. And I felt like we actually crowned the true champion. Ohio State was, they earned it. You know, they really did. So it went better. And I think the best thing for me was my team here at CFP. You know, I was a new guy walking in going, okay, where's the bathroom? You know, and they were just so good and taught me and helped me to get my feet up under me so that I could actually help with the process. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to go through this journey with.
Yeah, what you just mentioned about them, you know, earning it, the truth, like, there's so many years in college football you can say, yeah, but that was the only good game that they won, was the one right at the end. And, like, there's so many things with the teams that they beat, and this will be the same way going forward. If you get in that playoff and you win it, no matter what your schedule was before, it doesn't even really matter because you will have earned it no matter what, right? There, you can't say like, oh, well, so-and-so was down. No, you beat 4 top 12 teams on your way there, so there you go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, you know, you look at Ohio State, and they had that loss to Michigan that was, you know, probably as big a blow as a team could take going into the playoffs. So they showed that they were fallible, right? But then they went into the playoff and just showed the world what they were made of. And you know, I was proud of that. And frankly, Notre Dame did the same thing. You know, they came off that Northern Illinois loss early in the season, and they fought back and came into the playoff and just really earned their position there. And in the end, we crowned a true champion.
Rich, the What is the actual criteria of strength of schedule, of all of the things that are mixed in together? You know that if you're a fan that your team is left out, and of course we had the big controversy a year ago with just 4, but what is really, in your opinion, the number one thing that your committee wants to see when they pick their 12?
Oh, that's a hard question. The number one thing, it depends, right? Okay, there's that answer. But it does. And it depends on a lot of different things that go in, a lot of pieces of the recipe that builds those 12 teams that are going in. And, obviously wins and losses matter, right? Strength of schedule matters. Head-to-head competition matters. The eye test matters. It all is important. And that's why the committee's job is so tough, because they have to take all of those ingredients and come up with an answer that, some people are going to agree with and some aren't. But having sat through the process, now actually this is my second year sitting through it, I think they do a fantastic job because they really get down to it. They are very open and honest in that room and what they talk about. And there's some pretty specific protocols that are laid out for them that they have to follow. But in the end, a lot of it is it's up to their judgment, the discussions that they have, and really listening to each other to come up with the right answer. And it is rigorous. I mean, they vote and they re-vote and they re-vote the re-vote. They make sure that everybody has a chance to make that input. And in the end, they vote on the teams that are going to get in. And I think they did a great job this year.
One of the things about strength of schedule that's an ongoing debate between the conferences is how many conference games that everybody has. Would you like to see a future where, whether it's 8 or 9, everybody agrees on that, and then that makes it a lot easier for everybody to determine what their schedule is? They're all kind of dealing with, 3 or 4 non-conference games, whatever it turns out to be, and not kind of different standards for different conferences, so you kind of have the math that doesn't equal out.
Well, that's really up to the conferences. I don't want to really weigh in on that. What I will say, though, is that the committee is used to dealing with that. They know that they're not dealing with apples and apples. It's apples and oranges in a lot of situations, but that's why they're there. They're there to sort through some of those differences, to sort through what the different conference makeups are, right? And the teams that a particular team will play outside of the conference. That's what they have to do. And that's why they have so many different metrics. They have the eye test. They do all of these other things that allow them to cross conferences and to make an assessment of a team regardless of who they're playing. So I don't know that it's the conference's job to make it easier for the committee. I think it's the team's job to go out and win the games that they play and to play as well as they can every week, and then let the committee assess them regardless of who they're playing. There are a bunch of people that have huge experience in college football and even in football writ large. I mean, we have former NFL players, we got Hall of Famers, former coaches, journalists, everybody that has a touch point in college football. We have them represented on this committee, and I think they do a good job, and they will do a good job regardless of whether there's a standardization in the number of teams that you play within a conference. They're going to be able to do it, and they're going to do a great job for us every year, I think.
That there was a time, Rich, and you weren't a part of it, that Mr. Clark, that college football kind of started giving away weekends in December. You know that, and you've talked about that with the commissioner. And the NFL said, oh, this land is open? Good. It's like a game of Monopoly at times. Is that the 800-pound gorilla? And do you think the NFL will ever want to give back any of their turf to help college football, which is the sport that feeds their game?
Well, I'll say this. The NFL has been willing to work with us. And so we're going to work with their schedule or work with the NFL team to find the win-win solution as best we can, because there's a lot of games that both the NFL and now the CFP later in the season, but really college football, that we want to play and that we want to offer to the fans. We just have to figure out the best way to present it. And I do know that the NFL recognizes us as sort of the feeder system into their program, but they also like college football. So I think that we're going to have some opportunities to work with the NFL in this off season to figure out how we can best present these games to the fans and let them be able to make good choices as to what they're going to watch and what they're going to be fans of. So I do think it's a tough problem because there's so much out there that people want to see, and there is limited time. Time is the commodity here. We just have to figure out how best to divide it up between us.
I don't want to speak ill of the Bulls. They've done such a good job over the years of highlighting college football. But this is just as a longtime fan and passionate observer of this sport that is my favorite. If you could bottle up home playoff game and sell it in the grocery store, I would drink it every morning. Like, that's how awesome that was. And you were at some of those. Is that maybe going to be the next talking point of whatever modifications are made about doing more of that? Because I really feel that went over.
So those home games were spectacular, and I went to two. I went to Notre Dame, and I went to Ohio State. I don't know, maybe I just did. Those happen to be the two that I went to. But they were spectacular. And I couldn't be more proud the way that those schools presented the game. They worked with our team to help give it the gravitas, right, of a first round. Now, the Bulls also, I think, put on a spectacular event for the quarterfinals and the semifinals. It was just amazing. And there's, a lot of people say, well, maybe we could do more on campuses. I will tell you this, as you get later into the season, just from a practical logistic standpoint, when you get later into the season, especially on New Year's and New Year's Eve, the campuses change. They're not the same that they were on December 20th. Students are gone. A lot of people are taking vacation. You're over a holiday. The logistics become a little bit different. And I know that the Bulls know how to do that over the holiday, over January 1st, over New Year's Eve. So I personally like the idea of presenting that first round on campus and then having the quarters and semifinals at the bowl games. It keeps that tradition of the bowls and the event and just the spectacular nature that they put a game on. It keeps that in college football, but it also honors those campus games because, like you said, they were amazing, electric, I would say. I personally like this, but the commissioners, they obviously have opinions and will take a look at this. But yet to be seen if any changes happen there. But I think I personally, this is just Rich Clark speaking, I think we found a pretty good recipe as far as where the games are played, from first round, quarters, and semis.
What is the timeline or date in which you have to have everything ready for what the structure and how it will be run for 26 and beyond?
By December of 25. So we have some months before we have to have everything sort of nailed down as to how we're going to proceed for 26 and beyond.
Should one voice or one commissioner or one conference have more clout or leverage than everybody else involved in college football?
Well, we have a voting structure within the committee. It's a very fair structure, and everybody has a voice. I don't think one commissioner should have the deciding factor, but there's always a discussion. They always talk everything out in the committee room for the management committee, which is made up of all the commissioners plus the Notre Dame athletic director. They talk it out and then they vote. So I think voices are heard, votes occur, and then we move forward with that. So I like the process we have, and it's so far working for us. I mean, we got to this 12-team playoff, And it was great this year, and we're only going to make it better in the future.
We had Mac Rhodes, and I appreciate your time. We do, General Clark, we really do. Mac Rhodes was on with us last week, and he was on the committee. I had asked him about transparency. You have one voice. Ward Manuel was that voice, one spokesperson, so to speak. Is there anything that you noticed or you have an idea of how to become more transparent with the process other than the Tuesday night show?
Well, I think that's probably the best way for transparency. We need the chairman to be able to speak on behalf of the entire committee. That adds some credibility, not just transparency, but credibility, because the chairman is the one that runs the discussion. My job is really to make sure that we're following the protocol and that we're voting in accordance with the rules that the commissioners have laid out. But the chairman leads the discussion. The chairman is a voting member, and I think hearing from the chairman is really key. I personally encourage transparency, and I think Ward was pretty transparent. I thought he did an amazing job this year. You don't ever want to dime out people on the committee for how they voted or for specific discussions that happened, but sharing a sort of sense of the committee, I think, is really important. And I felt like Ward did that this year. So, and every chairman has their own personality and their own leadership style that they bring to the table. So we'll see how it goes next year. But personally, I thought Ward was outstanding.
Do you anticipate any changes this year, or will this be the second part of seeing, is that way you get a whole idea of this happened one year, this happened the next year, because the discussion was about reseeding or changing the seeding, but as you know, sports are not the same every time. Next year it could not be a problem, and you could have it perfectly nailed down. So is any of that going to happen, or will we stay the way we are this year, the same, and then 26 we'll see what changes happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think that the commissioners do want to be patient, and they want to be measured in their changes if there are any changes. I do think that they would be open to some tweaks to the format. I'm not sure if it'll happen. I doubt if they're going to make big major changes for this coming season, but I could imagine them making a few tweaks here and there just to help fine tune what we already have, and then letting us run the playoff one more time to make sure that if there's any big changes, because the one thing you don't want to do is make a big change and then go, oops, that didn't work out so well. So you give yourself a little time to see it in action again, and then make the big major changes that you think need to happen.
Yeah, let it breathe. Let it breathe, right, Rich? Just
Sure.
let it breathe and see the cake bake all the way to the end.
Right. I think that's what they're going to do.
Thank you very much for your time, Lieutenant General Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff. We do appreciate you very much.
Always great to talk to you guys. Thank David, Paul. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. With many questions, a lot of them, some of you, when we had Mac on a week ago, sent me a note or two about what you would like more of. I tried to ask some of those questions, and we did, and we appreciate his time. Not everybody's going to ever be happy with everything, and sometimes, like you said, one year it might just flow perfectly, all 12, it's obvious. Okay. No, it's not. I mean, I know you said that could happen. There are complaints when there's 68 teams in the NCAA men's basketball tournament.
Yeah.
68, and that thing's about as popular as you could possibly get.
Okay, and my point being with that is just, a couple games go a different way. I mean, and look, again, they could play especially those first round games, they could play them all 10 times, and a couple of those would be 5-5.
Right.
You could, you could play those games and they'd be 5-5. So if it's the other 5 at any given point, then all of a sudden you're exactly right, and that's how it is. I think we forget that as fans sometimes, that sports are the least finite thing that you can ever put your hand on, because every day is different. And even though that and look, we're sitting here in New Orleans watching the Chiefs in another damn Super Bowl. I get it. Sometimes things feel repetitive, but they're not really. There's just pockets of streaks that kind of last. And sometimes there's exceptional people, your Jordans, your Sabans, your Mahomes, your Bradys, who get the corner on the market.
Yep.
And nobody can figure them out. But that's also the reason it's great. So most of the other stuff is completely random and not repetitive. And that's, I think, what people need to notice more of, like, oh, it's this again and this again and this again. Really, no. If you look at it in a vacuum, most of it's different.
It is. It comes and flows. I mean, like even when Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, you just don't hear him with that same edge. We discussed that last week. Some conferences that write based on what we see, what they have, who they are, and even into the future with the way college football is, you don't see that. You don't see the Big Ten and SEC. Their power changing. But you never know what's going to happen. At one point, the Pac-12 used to be a monster. The Big 8, and then, of course, became the Big 12.
The Pac-12 had their most fun season ever when they blew up.
Yeah, no,
I mean, so
that was a hell of a season.
Again,
yeah,
like sports is random.
Because they ended up with a bunch of great quarterbacks in the conference. Part of it because of the transfer portal. You really never know. And you heard Ryan Leaf. No, you did not. We did. We recorded him. We'll have him in the 5 o'clock hour discuss what he misses about college football. And as a Washington State alum, you could tell. You know he's bitter. About what's happened to his alma mater.
He is about, and I think every Wazoo and Oregon State fan is justified in feeling totally left out of this, especially when it came to the end of it. It's like, hey, what about us? And like, oh, thanks for the memories, guys.
Yeah,
like that's basically what they got. Thanks for the memories. And like, okay, well, we're going to take all this money. You didn't earn this money. Well, but you didn't have to leave us either. We could have done better. So it's. Again, everything's different. Everything changes, and you just have to roll with it. And I think that we do get caught up in the, like, oh, I'm so tired of seeing Alabama. I'm so tired of seeing Mahomes. It's like, oh, Jordan won too many. Like, I'm tired of this. Well,
you're tired of it until it's your favorite team.
Yeah, and then, like, the wheel of destiny spins. Sometimes it just doesn't spin as fast, and that's where you get frustrated because we're all impatient sports fans. We want to win now. So, you look. It's less than a year ago. The Mavericks fans could have never been happier than they were until they, of course, they're like, oh, they lost to the Celtics. Jason Tatum, it was his time. It'll be Luka's time soon, and Dallas will be
Lakers.
Dallas will be happy. And then 6 months and a bunch of burritos later, and he's in Los Angeles.
Why do you have to make fun of his weight?
I'm not making.
I think that's.
I can say that.
He can be offended too.
I can say that.
I don't think he gives a damn.
You can't say that. I can say that.
Yeah. So a couple of college football notes as we head to the top of the hour, and we appreciate Rich Clark. Hope you all enjoyed having Sawyer Robertson, whether you're a Baylor fan or whoever, and with what his story was like. And then, of course, the college football playoff. Let it play out. People wanted to change it after the first game between Indiana and, Notre Dame. Like, blow it up and kind of let it run its course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan Grubb, Alabama. That's where he was hooked up at Washington with Kalen DeBoer. Spends a year in the NFL, doesn't work out, and Kalen DeBoer's offense could have been better. They're now happily united again in Alabama.
Yeah, and he gets to step right into a quarterback competition between Austin Mack and Ty Simpson for next year. And I'm sure a couple of those other freshmen that they have, but I would say generally it's Ty Simpson versus Austin Mack, with Ty Simpson probably holding the slight edge there.
You think they'll get a transfer anytime in the spring?
I mean, maybe. But somebody there's nobody at quarterback left that's going to move the needle for Alabama.
At least not now.
At least not now. Now, if somebody pops out in the spring, that could be something. But I don't know. If you're, I think quarterbacks mostly want to do this in December because they have a little bit of a steeper learning curve than maybe everybody else. I don't want to shortchange your linemen or your running backs or your DBs, but when you're going to be the starting quarterback somewhere, making that decision in May and then having to go somewhere almost right away and start learning the new playbook might be a little too stressful unless you just really get miffed. But coaching changes have all happened. The assistant coaches are evening out now. So I don't think there's a lot of things that can happen quarterback-wise outside of lose. And if you lose a battle, then Alabama's not going to want you. I mean, why would you do that? So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So they're whoever's on campus now is who's going to have to compete to be the quarterback, barring some major change by sometime in June.
And also, these guys were recruited by Nick Saban. Well, Austin Mack was recruited by him at Washington, and Ty Simpson was recruited by Nick Saban. So you've got a couple guys that two pretty damn good coaches thought. One of them's you, and one of them's Nick Saban. Thought were good.
Yeah.
You owe it to yourself to see that through, I think.
Ohio State's looking for both coordinators now. Chip Kelly is in the NFL with the Raiders. Got a bunch of $1 million to leave.
$6 million.
Yep. Also, of course, they had lost their defensive coordinator. Well, he's now at Penn State. Also, Texas, a couple of good news things for them, coaching staff-wise. They hired Alan Clark, who's the outside linebackers coach at Ohio State. All right, that. And they kept Tashard Choice, the former Georgia Tech stud who went to the Cowboys, drafted by the Cowboys at UT. The Cowboys wanted him. He's going to get nearly $1 million a year to remain on the staff at Texas.
Rashad Samples is another candidate for that job, and we'll see if he gets a raise at Oregon or if he takes it. Not having him in the college recruiting world, that would be a gigantic.
Yeah, he's got
hole to fill.
He's got connections, and he's very young though. Both of them. The short choice. So I used to do interviews with when he was at the Cowboys. But there's energy that these guys bring, and also what they have as far as their imprint, footprint, fingerprint, whatever you want in recruiting.
Let's say Rashad Samples is the running backs coach of the Cowboys for the next 3 years, and they draft Genty or Scadaboo or Caleb Johnson or one of these guys, and they have a big old time. And then he can go back to college, and instead of taking a job at Sam Houston State, where he was certainly a candidate for that job, the school is bigger. Right,
yeah.
Because now he's got that NFL pedigree behind him, and he can go and tell all those recruits that he already doesn't need. He doesn't need the NFL pedigree to get recruits. He's already really damn good at it. But now it's just, it's like Superman discovering that he can fly faster.
You can never fly faster than when I was younger. That's all. That's fake news. Now, a couple of things in recruiting. Franklin High School running back Jaden Jackson, who was really more of a fullback with them, won a couple of state championships. He was a part of that run. He's a senior this year. I saw this today. He was getting offers, and I was wondering, they don't seem to be large enough for him. He committed to Iowa State. That's a great fit based on his style and what they ran at Franklin High School. They would run it down your damn throat until you just broke. He committed to Iowa State, Matt Campbell. And then this is something... And I would say this about, local, he committed to Baylor, yes, but this is something I've always had an issue with. So London Smith last week commits to Baylor. 4-star player, still is a 4-star player. And I don't look at recruiting rankings. Somebody sent this to me. I know Emory shared it with me. I'm somebody that kind of follows it. London Smith commits to Baylor. And this week they released their top 250, and he drops 103 spots. Are you shitting me? Excuse me.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
And I it's a local kid. I get it. But this is something that's ridiculous. I looked at, there's others. There's a player, I think, that dropped 68 spots. But I have always felt this way, and I know all of the guys in recruiting. I know Jeremy Crabtree is somebody I've had on radio back in the 90s. There's Bobby Burton, who now covers mainly Texas, and there's others. Greg Powers at Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine. I reached out to a couple of the guys before I put this up. But so London Smith commits to Baylor, highly thought of player, highly ranked player. He didn't play as many snaps this year. He was injured 3 games. And less than a week after he commits to Baylor, he dropped 103 points. There's nothing wrong with him. He's not a bad kid. He had a not quite as productive a year numbers-wise, but it's still pretty much equal to what he did as a freshman and sophomore.
But they knew that on Monday.
Yes.
Before he committed on Tuesday.
They released. He dropped 103 spots. I will lose a nutsack. Well, it doesn't do me any good anymore at my age with all the things I've had done. I would give up a nutsack if I ever saw a player who commits to Texas or Alabama.
Just one?
Well, neither one of them work.
I mean, you have one. I don't know. I think
you can take both of them.
Yeah.
You would never see that. And this is not pity. It's not me. It's me. I've been following this crap since Max Emfinger was the only one that did it back in the day and had it like a newsletter. And we'd go on the air, and he'd get my most lit up amount of calls was always with Max Emfinger. No matter if you were talking about Florida or you're talking about UT or OU or what. 103 spots. He's the same guy today as he was a week ago. That's just come on. So I did say something on Twitter. I'm sure no one will reach out to me. I'm going to figure that out. But I just thought that was really shady. Very, very, very shady. Now, there were some other players that dropped 30, 40, 50 spots. But 103, he's the same damn person and player and athlete today as he was a week ago. He commits to Baylor. It's not like they're like in the top 100 teams. They're not bad right now. They're having a pretty good run with recruiting. That, to me, was shady as hell. That's me.
Oh, no, Smokey, I could not agree with you more. I think that it's ridiculous. And there's a reason that a bunch of other new recruiting sites have different metrics on their rankings and why Rivals isn't the end-all, be-all anymore. As a matter of fact, I would say it's probably in fourth place now.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, it's down.
It's
in fourth place.
It is. I don't even know who runs it. I looked at it. Okay, here's another thing. I will reach out to the others and the other sites. I will. I promise you. But this isn't just about Baylor. This is not just about Baylor getting a four-star that dropped. It's K-State. It's Iowa State. It's Arizona State.
It's everybody who is not in the country club. Because it's not like all those, London Smith had offers from about every school. I mean, I don't know, it was 30 plus, right?
I mean, he had Bama, he had Georgia, he had all the Blue Bloods, yeah.
So if
he changed his mind, and let's say committed to
went to Georgia,
LSU,
and went to Georgia or LSU, and he jumps back up, and nothing's changed but his mind. And here's the other thing to remember at London Smith, and that's part of the thing that you do these recruiting rankings. You have to look at the human part of it. London Smith has grown up in Waco, Texas. His dad was a star player at Baylor.
Yep.
What do you think he's wanted to do his whole life? I mean, we all want to be just like our dads.
Like Jamarian Vincent said to me on Friday. Yeah.
So, you grow up, you want to play for Baylor, all of a sudden they call. Now, look, that doesn't mean he's going to be there or something doesn't change or whatever, coaching or what have you. But if you like to coach and it's for your favorite school of all time that you grew up wearing only those clothes, believe me, you're going. You're going. It's just such a stupid thing that you would move people around. And again, this is kind of a minor thing when it comes to it because it's the fourth one, but it's still a stupid thing, and rating a process can change because none of those offers are off the table. He's not signed yet. He won't be signed until a year from now because the 2026 guy, so we're almost a year from now. He'll probably sign in December. Wherever he does, it'll probably be Baylor, but and he said he's going to take other visits still, so you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But again, if he jumps back up, then you're kind of exposed of all he did was commit to a school that you don't regard in the same place. That's dumb.
There's a young man from Georgia who went up 154 spots. I'm happy for him. That's a lot. You know what? Maybe people are just starting to see real film on him, or maybe, I don't know who his offer list is. But I'm happy for him. But 103? That's just a little bit much. Now, when we come back, we're going to look at the I've already cussed today. You guys are usually the foul mouths. You, Craig, and Garrett, and everyone. What a batshit weekend for men's basketball in the Big 12. Yeah. I'm just I'm on meds. I got my shoulder hurts. But that's not why. It was crazy with what the Baylor-Kansas game. We'll have Amanda live. Also, Iowa State, K-State.
I'm glad you said that. I need to check on her.
No, you don't.
I do. She's not doing well.
Oh, it's a game. It's just a game. And then also Texas Tech and Grant McCaslin, oh, my God, went off and won. Well, we'll get all that. We'll get into that. We'll also have Chuck Cooperstein, voice of the Mavericks, on about the Luka trade and so much more. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. We're live in New Orleans, and this is 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
If you want quality and personalized service for all your air conditioning and heating needs, call Tradesman Services. They're a family-owned and operated company that has served Texans for over 30 years. Tradesman offers maintenance plans starting at just $12 per month and a free service call for all new customers. They're also experts in geothermal design, installation, and service. Visit them online at coolingwaco.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com.
Here's Barkley, a little shovel, looking for an edge, gets it, Saquon Barkley, first down, Barkley, oh! Saquon, touchdown!
Live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, this is 365 Sports. Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Alan Samuels House of Travel, the official travel sponsor of 365 Sports. Now, here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
All right, Chuck Cooperstein around the corner, voice of the Mavericks on the Luka trade. I woke up, I said Sunday morning, and it was a Sunday morning. I woke up Sunday morning about 6 because I had a couple of things to do, go try to do a workout, and then get packed. I was already packed and shower, and then go up to Dallas at Love Field to get to here. I woke up and I saw that note about the Luka trade. We will absolutely dissect it from somebody who's right in the middle of it on this show here in about 15 minutes. Now, this is the craziest weekend, and the Big 12 is going to Iowa State, KU tonight, like a battle of survival to stop the hemorrhaging. All right, we got to start with this one. Baylor, we don't have to.
No, go ahead. Baylor
was losing by 21 points. I'm playing around at golf. Try to enjoy my Saturday. Didn't feel like they were going to probably win. They have so many problems. Down 21, Paul and I start texting. I was like, oh, my God. And we're counting the bets and skins. I didn't have any skins because I didn't have a damn birdie on Saturday. But we're sitting there. Next thing you know, I just checked my phone. Everyone's saying, oh, my God, they're down 8. Just like 17-2 run. They had like 3 massive runs during this game. So then they're back up 10, KU, 54-44. All right, you ran out of gas. You made the run. You're so deep. I said to you, is it me or is Baylor always playing from behind? And the answer is yes. He was at the game, babysitting Amanda so she wouldn't get arrested. But are you kidding me? This is like they scored 60 points in the second half and beat KU. Not only came back to win it, but won by double digits? Are you kidding me?
It was crazy, and everything that Kansas fans complain about was the reason that it went the way that it did. in that Bill Self loves KJ Adams perhaps more than any. Like, he might love him more than Kirk Heinrich or Devontae Graham.
Okay, now you're getting.
I mean,
I'm
not giving you hyperbole here because there was stuff they could do to get benched. KJ Adams was responsible for, and maybe not necessarily turnovers, but 7 changes of possession in a row. I counted them, or mistakes that he made and things he should have done better, like missed shots or straight up like not knowing where he was on the floor. During that 10-point. Where they got back to 10, Baylor missed a shot. He got the rebound and just straight stepped out of bounds on it, and then that's when that's what ignited the next wave of the Baylor comeback that allowed it to be completed. And DeJuan Harris, known for his defense, but his athletic limitations were on display because Rob Wright tied his ass in knots. I mean, just absolutely. Really, the last 3 games for Rob Wright have been talk about VJ all you want, but I'm here too, buddy.
Yeah, and these guys are forced into playing more. VJ, and then VJ goes out, they make the comeback.
VJ goes out, they've got 3 guys eventually with 4 fouls.
Yep.
Only Jaden Nunn got his 5th at the end, which I was watching like a hawk, those 3 guys in particular, waiting for them to get their 5th foul at any time in the last 6-7 minutes, and they legitimately didn't. It wasn't missed calls. It wasn't anything. They did not. They just played better. Jaden Nunn had a foul late where he, right at the end where he kind of had to, otherwise it was going to be, like Kansas might have gone on a break. But, it was an absolute collapse. Bill Self needs to refresh what he's doing.
All right. Baylor, the only team in the last 15 years to beat a ranked team by double digits after trailing by 20 or more points in the game. Kansas State, let's go to Tech because the emotions, and Coop's going to join us. Texas Tech, JT Toppin is ejected for kicking a guy with his knee. I could see a foul, but to eject him, and then McCaslin's he then goes back and checks the video. He gets ejected. I love the fire from Grant McCaslin. Kirby Hocutt had a statement that he contacted Brett Yormark, who said that there would be accountability with this. I don't know if there ever will be when it comes to that. There are times when ADs have done that in the Big 12 and been fined for what they said. Hocutt had a right to say it. McCaslin had a right to lose his mind. I hated it for Toppin, but they beat Houston and snapped their 33-game home winning streak. What a great culture, gutty win for Texas Tech, and they're on a run right now, right up to the top charts near the top of the Big 12 standings.
Yeah, what a way to bounce back. I think Grant McCaslin was totally justified in his losing his mind. If JT Toppin can do that on purpose, he needs to be on America's Got Talent.
Yeah,
that's a lot of different motions to do of like going up with the ball and then like intentionally going, you know what, I'm going to kick this guy in the nards. That's a lot. It was not intentional. It wasn't even close to intentional. And the refs could have walked it back very easily and been, because all the flagrants get reviewed.
Yep.
And they could have been like, "Oh no, that's not a flagrant." I mean,
they could call it a flagrant one,
or they could just call it a foul.
Yeah,
okay, why is it a foul? Because his foot hit the guy. That's a foul. It was careless and reckless. Okay, call a foul. I mean, Grant McCaslin might have been mad because it's incidental contact, but again, incidental contact is quite often a foul. So just call it a foul. And you don't have this, then we don't get to have the Kirby Hocutt hands across America parade that we normally get when something bad happens to Tech. Kim, please don't yell at me. I'm on your side on this one, but it's just like you could have just called it a foul.
Yep.
If you want the compromise in this, it's just call it a common foul and move on.
Or even call it a flagrant. And McCaslin would have been mad at that, but don't eject him with a flagrant
two.
Two.
I've seen plenty of flagrant ones that were legit flagrant twos that they didn't have the guts to pull the trigger on because they're like, I don't know should we kick this guy out? And like, that looks pretty intentional to me. This was not intentional.
Here's a quote from Frederico, who plays for Texas Tech. If you want to play for a winner, a guy who loves his team, a guy who will get kicked out of the game for his players, an absolute dog, you come to Lubbock, Wreckham, from Frederico. And then this one. Remember when Baylor came back and beat K-State 2 weeks ago? Scott Drew visited the Kansas State locker room to talk about when Baylor once started 2-8 in the conference. Everyone was like, well, Jerome Tang can't coach. Some of you K-State fans, and they still have a huge ditch to pull out of. They're 3-0 since that time. It's not Scott Drew. Maybe it's just putting things in perspective. Maybe K-State was starting to play better, and they just got hot. They just won in Ames by 19. What? In Iowa State, Kansas tonight. But K-State still has a huge hole to dig out of, and they might not be able to do so. But I remember getting a text or tweet, a response from somebody when I mentioned what Tang mentioned with Drew entering the locker room, and they just blasted Jerome. He can't coach. He can't make decisions. This is, of course, a fan. I get it. And they're 3-0 since that time. Does that mean they could win 2 of the next 8 again? I don't know. But they've done something. At least they were close. Remember, they even played well at Kansas and lost. They still lost. But this is all of a sudden a 3-game winning streak, including at Ames, in Ames, to beat Iowa State and beat the hell out of them.
Yeah, they're finally coming together. And Jerome Tang has, he's still, even in this midst of this 3-game winning streak, he has heat on him for his first time in Manhattan. And if you hear it, like it's going a lot better for him now, but still he's got heat on him. And part of the reason he has heat is that roster is 90% portal, and they paid a lot of money, including for a guy who's not with the team right now, an Akor. And so that stuff was really bothering them. They paid a lot of money for Coleman Hawkins for him to be averaging 8.5 points a game. That's not what you go and pay a guy for. Mm-hmm. You pay a guy for a lot more than 8.5. So it is absolutely great for him that they are on this run, because he needed to get some of that heat off him, and this team needed to start playing together.
So there we are. One other note, college basketball. That win for Tech in Houston was something else. One other note in college basketball. Paul, you close it out with this. We're working on Cooperstein in the video link. Leonard Hamilton, longtime coach at Florida State. You got him? Okay, yeah. He's gone. You're happy as an alum, right?
I think it's just time. They had this great run, 17, 18, 19, 20 would have been maybe the best year. Of course, it got canceled. They'd won the ACC tournament. 21, they made the tournament again. They haven't won it since then. It's been diminishing returns. I'm curious to see what they do. It's unfortunate for the basketball program that there is this big push to fix football right now, so maybe they don't have as many funds that would be available, but there are coaches like Will Wade that you could go get that I'm sure would love to be there. Yep. So go get them.
We'll see what happens with that. And now joined by the voice of the Mavericks, our great friend Chuck Cooperstein with us on 365 Sports. We're at Radio Row in New Orleans, and Chuck joins us on the show. Chuck, I know it's been a wild 24, 48 hours. Where were you when you heard about Luka's trade?
I was in bed in my room talking to my wife. And all of a sudden my phone started buzzing, and I tried to ignore it. And as she was talking, I put me on pause and took a look, and got a text, someone saying, like, what the hell? And then right after that, the ESPN alert came. And there it was. And I told her, love you, hon. My phone's buzzing. Got to go. I'll call you back.
So, was there – his conditioning has been at the center of this. The return of the trade and all that. Was there tension inside the locker room with teammates or anything like that? Most people are puzzled, Coop.
It was not. There was it's understandable. You never see a 25-year-old generational player be traded, and certainly not be traded if they were going to be traded. The the trading team was going to get a motherlode in return. That didn't happen here. The general manager, Nico Harrison, had his reasons for that. And, obviously believing that Anthony Davis is worth a lot of those future first-round picks. And on we go. But no, the players had there was no tension with him. Luka was loved by the players. Players loved him.
Yeah. I mean, in Coop, the reason I asked that question is just because sometimes you see like a player, like a big time player like Luka get traded, and you find out that he's not been doing his share. He's become a diva in the locker room, and even the other NBA divas are tired of his diva behavior, and he goes. And you just clearly said that's not the case here.
No, that's not the case. I mean, Luka's fun. I mean, Luka tries to be one of the boys, I think, as much as one of the boys can. He loves the challenge of, the half-court shots after practice and taking everybody's money and talking trash and having a great time. I mean, he loves to play. He loves to compete. He loves to win. And I think he showed all of that in 6.5 years in Dallas. And it's going to be missed. And there's just no getting around that. And it's going to take a long time, a very long time. Even if the Mavericks do win, even if they somehow win a championship, people are not going to forget that Luka Doncic was not a part of that because they really wanted him to be a part of that.
Is there a trade in sports that you can compare this to?
No. I mean, in basketball, the trade that probably comes closest is when Kareem was traded from Milwaukee to the Lakers. But Kareem wanted to be traded. Kareem, wanted to get out of Milwaukee, wanted to go to LA, and they got some nice pieces back. But certainly, from the Mavericks standpoint, I mean, Anthony Davis is a Hall of Famer. Okay, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's had a great year, and he's been, at least until the last week, relatively healthy, and was healthy last year too. But I mean, I've never seen two players in their prime, Luka in the early stage of his prime, and Davis, probably toward the end, still a couple more years left in his prime. Never seen anything like that. I mean, I think back to baseball, and I think about that trade that was with the Padres and the Blue Jays, and Roberto Alomar and Fred Griffin and Joe Carter. Roberto Alomar is in the Hall of Fame, but those are four great players. But in baseball today, a great player gets traded, it's for prospects. In football, you never see star quarterbacks traded for each other. I mean, the last time that probably happened was Dan Pastorini for Ken Stabler in 1980 when the Raiders and Oilers made that trade. In hockey, sure, Gretzky was traded and Messier was traded, and there are some big names that have been traded through the years. But the return, again, is never a future Hall of Fame level player. And the fact, frankly, that it all happened as cloak and dagger as it happened makes it even more stunning and remarkable.
I'll give you one. Mookie Betts.
But again, what did the Red Sox get back in return?
Nothing. Yeah.
So again, I mean, the Mavericks did get something back here.
Yeah.
They the thing about the NBA that sets it apart is that you can look at, say, even the De'Aaron Fox trade last night with Sacramento. And Sacramento got Zach LaVine from Chicago. I mean, they got a legitimate NBA player. In baseball, there's never a legitimate 1-for-1 or 2-for-2 trade anymore. Basketball has it all the time. And given that one correct piece can really help your team rise, that makes it, I think, all the more fun.
Coop, how do they sell season tickets? They're going to be good. I mean, you mentioned Anthony Davis is really good statistically as a full team with what he does on offense and defense. Who knows? But this is a beloved player, How do you expect, what's it going to be like when they're home again?
Well, we're in Philadelphia right now. We're in Boston on Thursday. And we play the Rockets on Saturday afternoon. And I'm with you, David, because I don't know. I don't know what the reaction is going to be. I want to think that they will still root for the Laundry. I want to believe that. I think they're only mad at one. The fans are only mad at one person, and they're not going to see that one person. I mean, it's not like, they're going to throw his face up on the jumbotron or anything like that. I don't think that. I don't know. I mean, I'm stumbling here, but I want to believe that they will still root for the players because there are players that they like. And Anthony Davis, I don't know if he's going to play Saturday or not, but he is caught in the unfortunate crossfire that exists here right now. And anything short, frankly, of 35-20 on a nightly basis, the fans will probably say, "I want Luka," and we want to win with Luka. But they're going to have to get used to the fact that Luka's not here anymore.
How much of this was his conditioning, or is that maybe more of a?
I mean, it's certainly part of it. I mean, I'm sure there has to be something to do with that. But I'm sure there are other things that we are not aware of that, at least in Nico Harrison's mind, was reason enough to pull the trigger on this trade.
Was there anything he could have said to convince people it was a good trade?
No, I don't think so. From the fans and media standpoint, maybe less from the media, but certainly from the fans' standpoint, I do believe that Nico kind of misread the room. And when you're in your world and you're thinking, I really believe that this is going to make us better, it's hard to unless you actually go out and kind of listen to hear what people feel about Luka, and he has to have known that. I mean, he's been here 3.5 years. The love that people have for him, the love of the joy that Luka brought them, very much the way Dirk brought the joy. That's what people will look. People love, they want to be entertained, and Luka was an entertainer, and Luka was a great player along with being a great entertainer, and so the idea of getting used to something else beside that, as in any other walk of life, change is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody is going to have to get used to the fact that the Mavericks are going to play and look different because Luka's not there anymore.
I'm sure a lot of this from the fans is just, why is it always the Lakers that, like, you can name like 10 teams in NBA history. You talked about Kareem, wanting to be traded, and he got traded to the Lakers. Look, I think I'm a Spurs guy, the Pau Gasol trade that everybody was mad about years ago. Whether it's the Lakers or not, it's the Lakers. Like, if he had gotten traded to Washington or Orlando, like, people would still be mad, but that adds an extra layer of anger on it because they traded him to one of the gold diamond franchises of the league.
Well, I think a lot of people would say, why didn't they talk to Milwaukee about Giannis? Mm-hmm. Why didn't they talk to Oklahoma City, say, for like a guy like, say, Jalen Williams? Or even Shea, if you're going to trade Luka, you want Shea? Mm-hmm. Luka is the creme de la creme of the league, okay? Mm. At the worst, he's a top 5 player in the league. And when you're not dealing in that stratosphere and the return that you get, and we've seen this in sports forever, usually the team that trades the best player loses the trade. Now, again, the Mavericks probably did a little bit better in getting a player that is still an elite player. Was first team All-NBA defense last year, second team All-NBA. I mean, he was a top 10 player in the league last year. So, and there's probably still quite a bit left in his tank, but he's not Luka. I think that's the only way I can, say it more clearly than that. He's not Luka, and fans really don't want to know that there is maybe another way to skin the cat. It's almost like on the college level. I remember when Nolan Richardson came to Arkansas back in the 80s and he replaced Eddie Sutton. Mm-hmm. Eddie played one way and Nolan played an entirely different way. And Nolan famously said, look, there's more than one way to skin the cat. We're going to play 40 minutes of hell. Eddie was just a had a dominant half-court defensive team, played slow, played games in the 50s and 60s. Nolan wanted to play games in the 80s and 90s. And it took about 3 years for Arkansas to fall in love with Nolan Richardson in Arkansas, because they wound up going to the Final Four pretty quick after that. So from the Mavericks standpoint, they hopefully they can figure some things out pretty quickly, and the transition gets them back to where they were a year ago, and maybe allows them to take the extra step. Are they going to get there? I don't know, but obviously that's what they're counting on.
To a beloved player. This is Craig, who's not in New Orleans with us, but a huge Luka fan, Mavericks fan, loved Dirk as everybody did. We had a group text. We have one that's of those of us here, Chuck, in New Orleans, and then there's also one we have that's just constant, with our show and the staff. And I sent out a tweet about something to Luka, and he said, "Can we stop?" He's devastated. He's like, "Can we stop sending this in the group chat?" Like, he just didn't want to deal with it anymore. It's so raw.
It's raw, and it's going to take a while for everything to calm down. And when that happens, I don't know. Maybe when they start watching Anthony Davis play, they'll see, wow. I mean, he's a really great player. But it's not the same, and it never will be the same. And, Max Christie should not be dismissed in this. He's going to play. He might even at some point start. He played really well for the Lakers when they put him in the starting lineup right at New Year's. And, he's a good shooter. He can guard. The Mavericks now have a lot of guys in that, 6'5", 6'6" range that are rangy, long arms, can be disruptive out there. So, again, they got another person who can help them, but they no longer have, and really for the first time in the 20 years that I've been with the Mavericks, we don't have a generational player on our team. And I got to say, listen, it's weird for me. It was so weird yesterday. I can't begin to tell you how weird it was. And even doing the work for tomorrow night, even though Luka hasn't been in the lineup since Christmas, there was always that knowledge that he was coming back at some point. And now you're working, with the knowledge that he won't be back anymore. And a lot of the numbers and trends that you had for Luka, now, you just cast them off to the side, because at least for my broadcast, it doesn't hold anymore. But that doesn't make it any less difficult to shove it to the side.
Are you surprised that the LeBron didn't know about it until we all knew about it? Part of this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that that they were able to keep it under wraps. But I will say, when you go back, really since the beginning of when Don Nelson was brought to the team in the late '90s, and you look at all the trades the Mavericks have made, significant trades the Mavericks have made, they've never leaked. Never leaked. We've all been shocked. Now, this is the 10 on the Richter scale to beat the band, right? I mean, there's been nothing like this, and there never will be anything like it. But the only one that really was almost anticipated was when J. Kidd came back from New Jersey in 2008, because he pretty well made it clear to the Nets that he wanted to play with Dirk. So that deal, just kind of grinded its way through the process, and it wound up going down, at the trade deadline. But other than that, you think about, when they traded Kidd back in, even before Don Nelson came in, that was pretty shocking. When they were traded for Rafe LaFrentz, when they traded for Antoine Walker, right before the season started, after they'd already acquired Antoine Jameson right at the draft. When they acquired Caron Butler and Brendan Haywood, in 2010, or 20, I guess, at the trade deadline of 2010. Look to last year. I mean, nobody knew who they were getting. That people thought that they were going to be active and they were going to do something, but no one knew just exactly what was going to go down. And that was the case here, clearly.
February the 25th, they're in L.A. The best thing about this is that the first time they play will be in L.A., not Dallas. They don't play till, April the 9th. That will be – it won't change by then, but my God, could you imagine, Chuck, if all of a sudden they had a game at home against the Lakers in the next 8 to 10 days? Luka Does he even travel? I don't know, but good gosh, that would be unbelievably emotional.
Well, it's my understanding that Luka is going to be back with the Lakers and be playing next week. So he would have been available to play that game, and he will likely be available on February 25th, which, quite frankly, is the most amazing day and the most impactful day in all of Dallas sports.
Yeah.
Because that's the day that Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys. It's the day that SMU got the death penalty. It's the day that the Southwest Conference officially went away and the Big 12 was formed. And now you're going to have Luka Doncic playing against the Mavericks on February 25th.
Oh, my God. I always have a reminder that tells me that that's coming up like the next week or whatever to discuss it. And now that, my goodness, what a history note. Thank you, Coop. Great stuff. Good luck with it. I know you're a pro. You'll go about whoever's there. Kyrie's still there and others. That, my goodness, it's going to be fun to kind of see how it works out.
Look, the thing is, the team, when they are healthy, the team is still, I think, a really good team. But they're just a different team now. And everybody's got to get used to the fact that Luka Doncic is now wearing purple and gold.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. Thanks, Coop. I know it's a crazy time. Chuck Cooperstein, in Philadelphia, voice of the Mavericks, with us on the Luka Doncic trade. And wow, just still kind of staggering. When we come back, Paul Catalina, you know who Q is, Q Myers, Keon. We work with him in radio locally, and then he went off to Las Vegas a little bit after we took this podcast. I think later on that same year, that summer. He's a program director for an ESPN and other stations in Vegas, and he's got a guy that's doing a show with him. It does a show with one of the shows that they have on multiple radio stations, who was Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL in 2003, which means you're the last player taken. The last player taken in the draft. He's now doing radio. He has stories for Paul. Sat down with us earlier today. You'll hear from him. That's next, and this is 365 Sports in New Orleans.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game. Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
Experience the excitement of Truck Month at Allen Samuels, the perfect opportunity to drive home a true champion. The Ram has earned the prestigious title of 2025 Motor Trend Truck of the Year, and we're marking the occasion with unbeatable deals on new Ram 1500, Ram 2500, and more. Whether you seek power, luxury, or extraordinary capability, Allen Samuels has the perfect truck tailored just for you. But these deals won't last long. Allen Samuels, your trusted truck partner.
Come by, let's be friends.
There's Barkley, a little shovel, looking for an edge, gets it, Saquon Barkley, first down, Barkley, oh! Saquon, touchdown!
Live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, this is 365 Sports. Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Allen Samuels House of Travel, the official travel sponsor of 365 Sports. Now, here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
365 Sports here on Media Row in New Orleans. My new friend, Ryan Hogue, who is Mr. Irrelevant. He works with our friend Q in Las Vegas. And, Ryan, we are kind of divided, I would say, 80-20 college football and the NFL on our podcast most of the time. But we talk a lot about the NFL, and this is one of those stories that happened yesterday, that a $6 million deal was made by the Raiders to get Chip Kelly out of Ohio State, which even with Ohio State's money, they had to be like, well, $6 million, Chip, go. Like, please, thanks for your help, but, you can't help us anymore. Go. What do you think about this move and what it says about Pete Carroll reaching out across the aisle to an old coaching rival, for sure? Yep. I was kind of under the impression that they weren't all that cool with each other. But, I mean, $6 million, I'll be cool with a lot of people.
Well, yeah, money talks. And the Tom Brady effect is real, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, people gravitate towards him and know that what he just envelops as a human is a championship culture. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why Pete Carroll ended up there, and I think that's why they're willing to, forego whatever they had in the past and understand that, hey, we want to put ourselves in the best position to win. That's what the NFL is all about, right? And if that means getting probably the best offensive coordinator in college football to come and kind of rewrite his history, right? 2-14 the last time he coached in the NFL for the 49ers. He's got a little chip on his shoulder, and maybe there's some sort of talk under the table of, hey, Pete's only going to be around 3 with an option of 4. We'd love you to be our successor.
Yeah, and Chip's 61, so I mean, it's not like he's young, but he's young compared to Pete, right? What is the, I guess, overall vibe around the Pete Carroll hire when it comes to this? Is this maybe the first time that the Raiders have done something that the fans are going, oh, okay, all right, like, maybe this is making sense right now.
You nailed it. And I'd say the first time in 25 years, right? The Gruden hire back then was obviously a good one, but they didn't know what they were getting with him. And then he left, and then, Bill Callahan came in. That really didn't, cause a lot of, shockwaves. Obviously, Bill took a team to the Super Bowl and they lost. But after that, right, and that's when I got drafted right after that, there has been very few reasons to, cause for excitement with the Raiders, especially from the coaching staff, first head coach and then coordinator positions. And so this is the first time you kind of feel not only like locally, regionally, but nationally, like people are kind of buzzing about, they got the best coordinator from the team that won the national championship that, oh, by the way, was his first year ever coaching the NFL, number 2 offense in the NFL, his second year, number 3 offense in the NFL. Like, that's fun. And I think what the Raiders, especially from an offensive standpoint, have lacked since the Al Davis days of just, putting some burners around, a good quarterback is excitement on the offensive side of the football. And that's what Chip Kelly brings. Like, it's ingenuity. It's, it's like cutting edge, and it's unique and different kind of plays as opposed to what we watched last year. Every single game in our 4-win season was just kind of, 2 yards in a cloud of dust, maybe some play action pass, and we just didn't have the talent.
For Chip Kelly, how much do you think, not only getting back in the NFL, but the fact that this is offensively. Defensively, maybe not so much for the Raiders because you've got Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins, and you've got some other. I mean, you've got two really good linebackers that you like, and all that. But offensively, this is nearly outside of two offensive linemen, a tight end, and one wide receiver, a complete blank slate. I mean, it is a blank slate. So you are building. You get to say, okay, we want these. They need three more offensive linemen. They need a running back. They need a quarterback. They need a wide receiver. They have Brock Bowers, which for Chip Kelly should be fun. But when you look at it, you're starting from scratch. To me, I know sometimes some coaches maybe not at this point in my career, but for Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, I would think that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. And as you know, it's a quarterback-driven league. If you don't have a quarterback, then you better have an amazing offensive line. I will say that if I'm looking on the offensive side and say that a position group is the strongest, I would say it's our offensive line. We have 5 guys that I would feel comfortable putting out there next year as a starting 5. With that being said, you have 28 impending free agents. You have 108-ish million in cap space, which is the second most in the league. And you have 12 draft picks in this year's draft, something, right? I mean, you have the opportunity to completely flip the roster. And if I'm an offensive coordinator coming into a bad situation, which, quite honestly, we're in a bad situation, right? It's coaches after coach after coach getting fired. This would be my opportunity as an artist to have a clean canvas to kind of, hey, I want to pluck this guy, I want to pluck this guy, I got this money for this guy, and that's how you solve the problems. That's how you go from a Washington, right? Jane Daniels obviously helped, but that's how you go from a 3-win team to a 14-win team. Yeah, so, I mean, would it surprise you to see them go inside a veteran like, say, Marcus Mariota to help out a little? He probably needs no reintroduction to it other than the new terminology from a decade ago when he played for Chip at Oregon. And obviously Chip's offense has matured over that time, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Would you be surprised to see that? And how much of this for Mark Davis, who is an owner that obviously there's a lot of emotional baggage when it comes to him in this franchise, and his dad and all that stuff, that now Tom Brady is the caffeine that he needed to get up in the morning. Yeah, so I would say both Chip Kelly and Marcus Mariota peaked when they were together. Yeah. So that marriage is harmonious, and that's something I get excited about because I never knew about Oregon until those two started working together and put really Oregon on the map, and now they've kind of been a title contender since then. You look at the other quarterbacks that Chip Kelly's had. Michael Vick, Kaepernick, DTR from UCLA, right? And then Will Howard's kind of an outlier, but he didn't get a chance to recruit that guy, and Will Howard also had 65 yards rushing in the national championship game. But so what I look at how the roster is assembled now, and I love that you brought up Marcus Mariota because we don't really have a guy that has a lot of wiggle. Gardner Minshew would be the closest thing, and I think just because of salary cap hit, he's going to be gone. Aiden O'Connell, unless they're looking for him to be the next Nick Foles, who had a great season under Chip Kelly, I just don't see the quarterback on the roster. So a Marcus Mariota would make a lot of sense because the RPO is kind of the new, not new, but within the last 2 years, you watch Philly and you watch Kansas City. They both run that really, really well. Kansas City probably better than any team in the league. And when I see a team that can run the RPO, I understand that, okay, this is how offenses have evolved. Defense have yet to catch up. And if you have a quarterback that can pull it and also scoot behind it, that's really hard because now you have to cover so many different things. I would love for them to get somebody like a Mariota for a couple years to bridge it while we have an up-and-comer like a Shador or Cam Ward or whoever. And not that those guys are necessarily RPO, get a tuck in and run, but they do have enough wiggle if they need to. Yeah, so when it comes to and look, I come for you from Cowboys country where everybody is disenfranchised with the Joneses. I would say that even going back to Al Davis, because it's been a long time since they've been relevant too, that it's a very similar vibe from the fan bases, right? But I do think, like you said, the Brady effect is real. I don't know if there's something that could happen with the Cowboys that would give it that. But, again, Tom Brady is not going to join something that he's not going to, have a hand in and be successful at. And if he's not, he'll just sell that share to somebody else and move on, right? Yep. And I think that's the sad part about where Dallas is at. Not only do they have a $90 million cap hit next year, I think, for Dak, right? But in addition to that, like Jerry Jones, I could never see him doing what Mark Davis did and be like, you know what, I'm going to take the keys off, give it to a guy that I know is a proven champion, and let him go. And there's, it's obviously a ton of excitement, and justifiably so, because when Tom Brady walks into the room, everybody holds their breath. It's like Michael Jordan effect. It's like, wow, hopefully he'll have a better career than Michael Jordan as a in that upper management role. But, I would love to see Jerry Jones kind of respectfully step back and just be like, you know what, I might not have all the answers anymore. Let me put somebody else in position to succeed. But I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. And it's the Raiders have one of the more interesting ownership situations in the league in that Mark Davis has no heirs. There's no,
and he's the poorest, I think, of
yeah,
all the,
so like,
at least.
Yeah, I mean, poor is a weird, like, he's the least wealthy.
Yeah, he's the least wealthy.
Yeah,
That's a much better
I was on vacation this summer, and the resort in Palm Springs overlooked his house. He's doing okay.
He's not poor.
He's doing okay. He's got a nice little secondary home there in Palm Springs. But yeah, he's the least wealthy. But again, no heirs. So like, it shows maybe a little foresight on his part of like, okay, well, how am I? Like, 'cause look, if he dies and there's nobody who's going to get it, then that's going to be really weird for the NFL, So, like, you can see maybe the plan of, and maybe him stepping back to, like, I'm not going to chase this anymore the same way. And I can look really cool because, like, oh, look, I own this team, and so does the coolest guy ever, right? Like, it is maybe, in my opinion, the smartest move he's made since he's been in charge.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
In a career short of brilliant moves, I would say, right? Respectfully, I would say this is absolutely his best one. I thought the Pete Carroll hire was safe. Mm-hmm. It didn't necessarily move my needle a ton, but what I told everybody after that hire was, I feel like 3 years, it's going to flip the culture. It's going to be a winning culture. We'll be up in the double-digit wins by the end of it. I don't believe Pete Carroll's going to win a championship with the Raiders. I think the next coach might be in line because the structure will be in place. But I think that's where, while Antonio Pierce was very similar to Pete Carroll in the fact that he was a player's coach, guys, really enjoyed playing for him, a defensive-minded guy. He didn't have that that foresight of, like, kind of being the puppet master of setting that culture, that expectation, and that winning, like, just magnetism where everybody understands, like, the standard is the standard. You hear it from my former coach, Mike Tomlin, all the time. The standard is the standard. When I ask anybody around the Raiders, like, what's our identity, what's our there was none, right? Yeah. And it was supposed to be tough-nosed and defensive-led and running, but we couldn't do any of those things. Obviously, injuries play a factor. It plays a factor with everybody. But when you fall short of that week one and you understand that you have to completely reshape your culture, like, you have no chance. And we kept trying to put a circular peg into a wooden hole, and it just didn't work.
Yeah. So in 2003, you were Mr. Irrelevant.
I was.
And that is an elite fraternity. I mean, there is, again, it's just one guy every year. And you said it is awesome being Mr. Irrelevant.
Unbelievable.
It is awesome. So do you get to talk, like, do you guys hang out with the other Mr. Irrelevants? Do you get to go to the event every year, like, because you're in the club?
So we're celebrating the 50th anniversary this year in Lambeau. And what I've heard, it's not official. I think the NFL is having all of them come back.
Okay.
Which is awesome. We've had, I think, the 30th or the 35th, there was a big, like, every 5 or 10 years they try to do it where I go back almost every year. I'm really close with Melanie Fitch, who took over for Paul Salata, who started it. That's his daughter. And she does an unbelievable job as the CEO of Irrelevant Headquarters. And they're like family to me. So they invite me back every year. They put me up. I mean, the entire process is just unbelievable and elite. But to answer your question, I certainly pay attention to all the Mr. Irrelevants that are in the league currently. I pay attention to those that obviously I met during their opportunities to spend a week getting celebrated. And we keep in contact here and there. I'm sure I'll run into one or two this week that just happen to be, like Deshaun Johnson, who plays for the Rams. He's in kind of the defensive line rotation. He might be around. Just guys that are kind of local in the area. Jalen Key and I keep in contact. He was last year's Mr. Irrelevant from University of Alabama. He's actually the one that put me on. He said Brock Bowers was the hardest cover he had in college. He said that in June at Irrelevant Week, and I remember taking that to Q and telling him, hey, don't be surprised if the Raiders draft him. I just had this feeling, even though it was as high as it was going to be, I just said, hey, that guy is an absolute superstar because Jalen put me on it.
Yeah, so you get, by the way, Dave Vobora, who's in Dallas now, running a thing. He was Mr. Irrelevant. He's a good friend of ours. We did our show at Adaptive Training Foundation a couple times, actually, and he's doing some unbelievable
Great
stuff.
Guy.
Yeah, great guy, like veterans and people who have had amputations, stuff like that. Like, it's it's an unbelievable facility, and it will also make you feel like, I don't care how good a shape you're in your life, when you go in there and like watch a guy with one arm like just throwing up like a bench press with 175 pounds, you're like, I really gotta change what I do. Like, it's unreal. So he's a great guy, but you said the week of is nuts.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what actually goes into it. I mean, it's a year-long process for the Irrelevant Week committee. Like, from it always culminates with a banquet, right? And hundreds to thousands of people come out to this banquet. It's we have, it's like a roast, but also a toast. We have former players, a lot of USC ties because Paul Salado went to USC and all that. So, but the entire week they predicate on whatever your preferences are. They talk to you like the day of the draft, and they say, okay, we're going to do this thing for you. It's during, like, after OTAs, before training camp, and we're going to celebrate you for 1 week. And we want to do anything and everything for you, your friends, and your family. We'll fly you out to Newport Beach, and we'll have an arrival party where we'll shower you with gifts. We'll do a beer can regatta race on a sailboat. We'll any food you want. At the time, for me, it was fajitas. I loved fajitas. Every single meal was fajitas. If I would have said filet, they would have had filet. If I would have said lobster, they would have had lobster. It doesn't matter. I wanted to go on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. They put me on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Other people have gone and joined Hugh Hefner at the Playboy Mansion. To, you name it, they will do it. Golf tournament, driving a Lamborghini, anything you want, they will make happen for that week. And again, it's a hats off to Melanie Fitch and crew, and her family is just unbelievable.
Yeah. So why are you such a huge Kimmel fan?
Well, I mean, it was just in L.A., so it worked out. I wasn't necessarily a huge Kimmel fan, but I became a huge Kimmel fan. He had me and Steve Harvey on that night.
Okay, so, there we go. Yeah, that's one heck of a guest list. So Ryan Hogue, one of the many. You're never a former Mr. Irrelevant, are you? You're just Mr. Irrelevant 2003.
I stay irrelevant.
Yeah, it's absolutely here with us on Media Row. Ryan, is this your first Radio Row, like, officially?
This is my first official, like, all week pass kind of thing. The last couple years I've dabbled through the Irrelevant Week. They'll hook me up with a day pass and I'll come in and they'll shop me around. And obviously this year I've become more relevant. Last year because of Brock Purdy. And then this year because it's our 50th anniversary, and I'll be hopefully announcing one of the awards at Lambeau this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you're also friends with Stephen Foster, correct?
Yes. Stephen Foster actually introduced me to Q 1 year ago today. I met Q.
Okay.
And our relationship has blossomed. I owe a lot to Steve. That's my guy.
He is everybody's guy. He is everybody's guy.
And he'll let you know about it.
Oh, I can't wait to see him. We'll talk for 45 minutes before anything gets said.
That's right. Yes.
That's one of those things. So that's how that's how it is. Love Foss. Great to meet you. Glad that we're friends now. And we need to just get you on regularly to talk stuff, because this has been really fun. And also, you're a D3 guy.
I'm a D3.
Yeah. I'm going to get you on, and I want to talk about your experience as a D3 athlete, looking through the prism of, like, what would you do now, knowing that, like, there's money in this thing?
Yeah, it would definitely be different. And my first ever college start was against Trinity in Texas.
Okay,
so D3, one of the premier programs down there.
Yeah, in East Texas, right? Yeah, Trinity in East Texas?
San Antonio.
Oh, no, it's San Antonio. Okay,
There's a lot.
There's a lot. Yeah.
And I was living in Austin the last 4 years.
Okay.
So I know Texas well.
There we go. Ryan Hogue, Mr. Irrelevant 2003, and of course doing some stuff with Raider Nation Radio and Locked On Raiders with our buddy Q. This is 365 Sports.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year, it's football season. Bird Colgan Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 selling truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, 47 years in a row. Come see the largest showroom in Texas and experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
Edward Jones financial advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones financial advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott will invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC. Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Rolling, Mahomes, he can keep it, he can get there, he's in for the touchdown.
Live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, this is 365 Sports. Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Allen Samuels House of Travel, the official travel sponsor of 365 Sports. Now, here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Here in New Orleans, Super Bowl 59. Chiefs and Eagles on Sunday, but so much that goes on, of course, Radio Row. Ryan Leaf, former NFL quarterback. We've gotten to know Ryan quite a bit over the years with your story, your journey, and then also talking football. Can you, as a quarterback, even fathom what Patrick Mahomes has accomplished?
I mean, yes, because there's one thing to know how to do it. There's another thing to do it. We as quarterbacks understand what he's doing, and we see it, and it's a matter of the fact that he does it in games, in the highest possible level of games too. So that's the difference in all that. Incredibly impressive, and it makes it real fun as a former quarterback to watch it play out.
With the defense they have, which I think, Mahomes can be like he's the bright lights of the whole thing. But what kind of confidence does a defense have knowing that, look, as long as we keep this thing close, if the offense isn't having their best day, if 5 minutes left and we're within a score, we're okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter either if they give up, 29 like they did last week. It's They got an offense that when they need to score 32 to win, they'll do it too. So they're just better than everybody else when it comes to game management and time management, end-of-game scenarios, head coach-wise, quarterback-wise. And this defense has been really good. Steve Spagnuolo has done a tremendous job of scheming, different kind of blitzes to confuse quarterbacks and confuse coordinators into setting up, protections that don't work in those instances. So it's just been really impressive. What a great run. I don't see for any reason why it won't continue either.
Ryan, we have had you on many times for you to tell your story about where you were and also what happened to your life, and then waking up in a cell, and then your life turns around. You mentioned us right before we went on the air. You're about to be in D.C. for a national award, but from the government. What is that? What is it, and what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's the Newsmaker Award for the coalition around alcohol and drugs and mental health, and my outreach and my advocacy for it. The way we've been helping people over the last decade. And so that's it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy, and it's pretty. I'm really grateful for it, knowing that we're making a difference. And so, these last 10 years have been amazing. As it turned out, my life of my dreams was not necessarily rooted in being a professional football player, but being a flawed human being that tries to be better every single day. And so, got two amazing kids and a family, and it's a real blessing what I got to go through.
So you've done a ton of work now as an analyst, college football and the NFL. What are your thoughts on this first year? Because we do mostly college football on our show, of the 12-team playoff, of Ryan Day, finally coaching in some big games with some confidence and not being all tight, and what that meant to that program and how they kind of burst through after that Michigan game. It felt like it was all over with the shouting.
Hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if it was, the realignment and how they screwed Washington State, my alma mater, and everything like that.
Yep.
But I didn't watch a lick of college football this year.
Really?
Yeah. I called the CW games, which were the Pac-12 games. So I called Washington State and Oregon State games. So I paid attention to those. I had two college games that I called, Michigan, Oregon, and Alabama, Georgia. Those were good games. But I didn't watch one lick of the college football playoff. I knew that Ohio State won just because, my periphery. But, FCS was my college football this year. I called the national championship game, so I was locked in on the FCS, and I just, not a big fan of the product anymore, and I don't know if that's a bias. Or not, but didn't watch a lick of it.
Look, from your perspective as an alum of Wazoo and what happened, I think you're pretty justified in those feelings.
And I don't know if it's necessarily. I just don't like the product. I don't like the. I don't like the fact that they're free agents and mercenaries every year. Washington State had probably the best quarterback in all of football this year, in John Mateer, and he'll be at Oklahoma next year because we can't afford to pay him, millions of dollars. And so, I'm not the old guy saying get off my lawn. I just liked when a guy came to school at 18 and he left as an alumnus when he was 22 or 23. And I know that's not the world that we live in anymore. But I just didn't think the product was very good. I didn't think the games were very good.
Can you try to explain the value, and it's like free agency without even any kind of windows, but the value of being on a team and marinating with the team, guys going from a freshman to a sophomore, doesn't play much to a junior, and that experience of how that helps bond a team too.
Oh, it does so much, and so much for you as a person to go through struggles and adversity and overcome it. That just doesn't. What we're teaching this generation too, if things are tough or you boo-hoo for you just get up and leave. Listen, the transfer portal is much more full of players that will never be on scholarship again than there are those that actually go on to have successful careers. Like those are the exceptions. The rule is you go into the portal, it's like a black hole. You disappear. You never play again. That's what it is. And because we have become a generation of individuals that we just go, not good enough, you don't like me, this is too hard. I quit. I'll find something better. And that's just not the way to live. And that's not the way you should live. I do understand it, and I'm always going to advocate for players, knowing that, you may never play NFL football. This may be the last chance you ever get to play college football. And if you want to transfer to go get an opportunity to that, by all means. But also know overcoming things and having to deal with difficult times is what makes you stronger.
Well, outside of the 1 to 2% that are getting generational money, you're going to get money anywhere you go. So you might as well be in a place that's going to make you better in every aspect of life, because you could be one of these guys that's like a 4-star guy that's a journeyman that every year doesn't like the place he goes, but there's some coach that's going to fix him, right? Well, no, you'll probably be fixed if you just stay with the coach that you liked in the beginning. And,
Yeah, but there's so many there's so many that are in that portal that no one's going to take to give you any kind of money.
Yeah.
Because you're not a 4-star.
Yeah.
Most guys aren't 3, 4, 5-star kids. Most of them are 1 or 2-star guys that enter the portal. FCS guys and things like that. So it's just a tough feel of it. The NCAA had a chance to rectify it. They got beat in the court case, and they just threw them to the wolves.
Well, and look, you can probably speak to this as a guy who's an NFL free agent several times. Free agency is not necessarily fun every time. It's a drag, even though at the end of that rainbow is going to be a salary and you're going to have a job, but you don't know where you're going to live. You don't know, you may want to go play for a coach. That opportunity may dry up because they signed somebody else. Like, it's not fun being a free agent, like in any sport. I've never talked to one athlete that's like, oh, this was great. I love free agency.
Well, I mean, if you're at the top, top of the market, you're going to love it because everybody wants you and they're willing to pay you top dollar to come there, So, like this year, the number one quarterback in the portal was, the kid from Washington State, John Mateer. He was the number one sought after, and he made a decision, right? I mean, he could have gotten more money with the University of Miami. I know they were offering him more money, and he took less money to go to Oklahoma, where his offensive coordinator, who was at Washington State, went as well. So he's got some continuity, and you can never begrudge somebody for doing that because, the chances of making the NFL is slim to none. And you have a chance to make life-changing money and play college football to boot at a blue blood school, and that's just tremendous.
Everyone knows the story about the draft, Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, and back and forth on that. Have you and Peyton talked very often about that memory and also your life and his life and how things worked out?
Usually when we talk, we don't talk about much of that. We talk about our kids. Ironically enough, outside the compartmentalized, NFL careers, we're both 48-year-old men. We both own production companies. We're both philanthropists. We're both fathers of a boy and a girl, and so we're exactly the same place, so it's that's the kind of things we talk about.
Production company, philanthropist, that when you get up off the floor to change your life, which is an everyday process, could you ever have imagined all this happening?
Hell no. You kidding me? If you just said this was possible 10 years ago when I walked out of prison, I would have said, you're nuts. I'm going to lock you up for being crazy. So, no, I mean, this has been a dream. I've gotten everything I was promised, and I haven't done it on my own. I've been carried.
We talked about the Chiefs earlier. I want to get your thoughts on the Eagles. Jalen Hurts kind of like went through it a little bit when it came to like negativity and people saying like, oh, well, he's not this or he's not that. But he is one of the toughest SOBs that's playing right now. He is such unique talent. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's special. Leader. It's not his fault they go out and grab a running back that goes for 2,000 yards this year. There's going to be something that changes, and there's something that different through that process. And now all of a sudden everybody says he sucks and he can't throw. Are you kidding me? Saquon Barkley can run for 200 yards plus in the Super Bowl on Sunday, and they can still lose. If Jalen Hurts goes out and plays like he did against the Washington Commanders, and he's on time, and he's in rhythm, and he's accurate like he was down the field, ain't nobody beating the Eagles team if that's the case. So this game all comes down to the right arm and mind of Jalen Hurts, and I'm excited for him to get another experience, another opportunity that because he played probably the best game of his career last 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. Outside of that lone fumble, that ultimately was the costly factor in it all.
Ryan, you brought up a lot of things in what you're about to be. Your life more fulfilled now then
hell yeah.
Just in the end, it's ended up being a great story about you and everything about you.
I don't know if it's great. I mean, it's life.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's more real than anything else.
Yeah, it's life. I mean, it's just mine was just very public, and so people know about it. There's so many of us that are going through what I went through. They're just doing it in the shadows, and so it's my job to shine a light on it, so they can be seen and they can be heard, and their life can be fulfilled.
Proud of you, man. Appreciate
you guys.
it. Appreciate it. Ryan Leaf with us. Congratulations on DC and that national award. Ryan Leaf with us, live in New Orleans on 365 Sports.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
If you want quality and personalized service for all your air conditioning and heating needs, call Tradesman Services. They're a family-owned and operated company that has served Texans for over 30 years. Tradesman offers maintenance plans starting at just $12 per month and a free service call for all new customers. They're also experts in geothermal design, installation, and service. Visit them online at coolingwaco.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com.
Here's Barkley, a little shovel, looking for an edge, gets it, Saquon Barkley, first down, Barkley, Saquon, touchdown.
Live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, this is 365 Sports. Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Alan Samuels House of Travel, the official travel sponsor of 365 Sports. Now, here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Craig, I think, might join us for a segment tomorrow. I haven't told him that. On the Big 12.
He's not going to.
No, yeah, we're going to do it on the Big 12.
Let's not waste his time.
On the Big 12 release, the schedule, I think we need to get his feedback, whether he wants to be or not.
You know, the last time we tried to do that when we were at the Super Bowl, you know how angry he was?
Yeah.
I
don't give a shit. We're going to do that.
We'll clip that so that he knows that I had no part in it.
No, we're going to.
I was on his side.
I bet he would enjoy a breakdown of the conference schedule. He might see things that we don't, which, he's got that ability as an alien.
I would bet that he does not.
Okay.
But,
Garrett, what do you want to put on the table that he does?
But
something meaningful now.
No, I kind of with Paul on this one. I think Craig can get a little agitated when you want to. Just let him be. Let him enjoy his time.
He's got 9 days.
I know.
I'm just saying.
I know him.
I'm just saying he's not gonna like it.
Smokey, I'll bet you a hurricane that Craig.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that because whatever can numb the pain I have in my left shoulder blade, I'll do that. If I lose, it's a good thing too. Hey, by the way, real quickly, if you are scrambling for a Valentine's Day plan, the Baylor Club, Waco's premier social club located inside McLean Stadium, this February, this is, of course, just today's the 3rd, 11 days away, $100 dining certificate, because nothing says I totally didn't forget, like a fancy dinner with a stadium view. So tell them you are a viewer of 365 Sports. Call them up, and there is a chance you might get a nice little discount for your Valentine's Day dinner. Don't you do it. That's not, no, you getting ready to do it.
No, I didn't. I'm trying to research a guest we have for tomorrow.
Okay, all right. And so there we are with that. Join the Baylor Club this month and get a $100 dining certificate. All right? Tell them that we sent you 365 Sports. Patrick
Mike would
Washman.
hook me up. Mike Muscle.
Patrick Washman. I was at Friday's Seafood on Friday afternoon. I'd gone to pick up the backdrop and then the banner, and I said, I'm going to go get myself some seafood. So I went in there, and I'm standing there, and there's this guy sitting at the table. He starts talking, and I'm talking to order my. He goes, I know you. And I was like, sometimes you got to be careful. Could be at a post office, and, you don't want it to be on a milk carton.
Yeah.
But so I was like, that can be good and bad. And he goes, no, I know you. You're Smokey. And I said, yeah, I am. He listened to us on the radio. He watches us on 365 Sports. I'm not sure how often, but he knew us. I wanted to say hi to Patrick. I'm not sure. Again, it's a random time at 5:20. But he was great. He knew all the stuff we did. He really was very much entrenched in what we do.
I heard something. You mentioned the milk carton thing. I heard something that really broke my heart because all growing up, I mean, there were missing kids' faces of milk cartons. You know how many kids got found from milk cartons?
Probably none.
None.
No.
None. Nobody ever found a kid from a milk carton.
They had missing kids on milk cartons?
Yeah, so it was like every milk carton you got, it was like the charity that the dairy farmers decided to be a part of.
Yep.
And it was a really smart idea because everybody buys milk, right? So if you had a missing kid, their face wound up on a milk carton, and that's where the saying comes from. Now that's not the case, but like you'd buy a milk carton and it'd be like Garrett Ross, 9 years old, missing, and you'd sit there, you'd eat your cereal, and you're like, man, I hope I see this kid somewhere. And eventually it got kind of regional, where it was like if you're in Texas, they would put a kid from Texas so in case you saw him. But I mean, it just never happened because it's a hard thing to do to like see somebody in a milk carton and then like be in JCPenney's. You're like, I knew it, here he is. So yeah, well, it bummed me out. I thought maybe that would work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I guess
I'm sorry to bum you out.
No, it didn't. Well, of course, anytime you couldn't find somebody missing,
Yeah, I
my
know.
goodness. All right, so Paul, your first Super Bowl was in Arlington when it was an ice storm. Have I ever? You're going to get bored out of your freaking mind. But for those who are, I'll shut it down much quicker than I did last night when Emery fell asleep while we were talking.
Garrett, before you even started telling the story, he said that's it. Yeah.
First year I ever covered a Super Bowl was a 92 season. Cowboys made the run at the end, beat the 49ers in Candlestick, and then went on to beat Buffalo in L.A. I was doing a radio show. It was my second year, I guess third year, 90, 91, 92. And the Cowboys were making this run, and I had no idea anything about Radio Row. I'd heard it. I'd seen a couple of videos probably on ESPN or whatever. And so I decided, can we go? And the Cowboys said they would let at least know the NFL that who we are, what we did. Talk to the owner. There's no way. So I sent in, it was a fax machine. I faxed my credential confirmation to them. Got a nice, kind letter back from the NFL. You're not going. And what's crazy about that is right now there's 180-something tables in this Radio Row with a lot of the larger, big setups all around the rims. From what right there, NBC Sports, Pro Football Talk, Fox Sports, all of it, okay? And then there's 186 tables we're one of them. We're table 4 in a great location. So they end up making this run, and I don't know if they had yet beat San Francisco, but I talked to David Pelletier. He was working for the Cowboys at the time. And I said, how do I get a credential to the Super Bowl? Because they just told me no. He goes, well, if the Cowboys win, well, there's a chance because you covered them. There's media, but it's not the same as now because there's not, there was 1 or 2 talk radio stations. Of course, they had the TV stations, 2 or 3 newspapers, and that was it. So they beat San Francisco. I contact the NFL. I send an actual piece of mail with a letter to the lady that was the one who makes or breaks you on the NFL, and a cassette of a Jerry Jones interview that I did on KTBB radio. She leaves a voicemail at the radio station, tells me to call her, and she approved me to go. And I was there. You're not allowed to answer it, and Paul, you already know, but I'll let somebody in the chat room. So at the Century Plaza Hotel, I'm not going to get into the hotel room and the presidential suite and all that.
Chip.
But somebody in the chat room, 186 tables, there's probably 200 pieces of media here in some ways. How many people, the first year I went in 92 at the Century Plaza Hotel, how many media outlets were on Radio Row?
Just to give you a hint, in the first...
Don't give it away.
No. I'm just... This is not... In the very first Super Bowl media day, what they did was they weren't at the stadium. They just went to the hotel that the teams were staying at, and you walked out, and, the reporters were there who were covering it and be like, I would like to talk to Bart Starr. And they would call Bart Starr's hotel room. He would come out to the pool, and they would be like, hey, Bart. When Joe Namath made the claim, he wasn't at the stadium. He wasn't in LA. He was just sitting at the pool at the hotel at the site of where they were and said, hey, I guarantee we're going to win this game. So that's how different things are over the years, and that's where it started. So if you want to just try to do a little math from then until 1992.
All right. So I get there and have no idea. I was so clueless on Radio Row that I had the phone line. With the equipment we had was a phone line. It's called a telefax machine, two headsets. That's it. And a phone line in the back of it. No internet. No cell phones. This was pretty much raw. And I go get my credential, and I had the phone line put in my hotel room. And she says, your spot is just around the corner. It's a pretty big concourse walking area. And so I was like, oh, my God, I put my phone line in my hotel room, which is the Beverly Hills Hilton, which is a famous hotel. And I go out there, and there's like 6 or 7 tables, at least at that particular point. And this was on a Sunday. There were 2 stations from Dallas, Randy Galloway with his show, at the time WBAP, Norm Hitzges on Cliff, KLAF 570, 2 Pittsburgh, 2 Buffalo, Ron Barr, who had a national talk show out of San Francisco, and there might have been 2 or 3 others, and then our table, KTBB and Tyler. And across the hallway from me, like 25 feet or so, 30 feet, was this guy setting up a table just like we had, putting a skirt over the table, Mike Tirico for ESPN Radio, just like all the rest of us. Mm-hmm. And so I want to say there's 12 booths, radio, like this kind of table, not even all this equipment. 12, I think, were on Radio Row. The next year in Atlanta, it was at the Hyatt Regency, that popped to about 40. Because we were down escalator down near the area, and I think there were about 40 of us. And I'll never forget. So you come down the escalator 35, 40 feet, and then there's people tucked around the ticket, which is, of course, just like their 30th year or whatever. They were like underneath the bottom, the slanted part of the escalator. And I'm sitting here right as everyone had to walk by to go down the next escalator to get to the NFL headquarters, like where you get credentials. And the guy from San Francisco comes walking up to me and goes, why the hell are you where you are? Why are you here? And I was like, to cover the Super Bowl. But why did you get this set up and we're in the back? He was pissed. Well, I'm kind of an asshole. And so, no, I just like, man, I'm sorry. This is where they put me. He was bitching the whole week, and we had great coverage. That was in Atlanta. Then 94 didn't go. Didn't know you could go unless the team you covered was in it. And then after that, everything is forever and ever except a couple of years. The next one was in Arizona, which was the first time they went to a convention center style, like a big room with like maybe 50 to 80. And then Dallas, that was, of course, a long time later.
That was probably 100, though.
Close to 100. I think it's like, now this is insane.
This is, yeah. You know what? When it really blew up, like, from my time, it was probably after Indianapolis. When we came here the first time, the year after that. Indianapolis and then like at New Orleans and then New York. Because New York, like we were in a big, big room in New York. And New York doesn't have it's a big city, but there's no space, right? Everything's on top of everything.
Yep.
So we were behind like a pillar, which actually wasn't a bad spot to be.
No.
That's probably one of the biggest hot streaks. Like New Orleans and New York back-to-back years are the two biggest hot streaks of guests we'd ever had ever. I mean, like we had one day in New Orleans, we had like Aikman, Jerry Rice, Steve Young, like all these people just back to back to back. And it's because like the three people that were running them were all friends, and they were all like right here. And Austin was next to us, and they were only there for a couple hours a day. So they'd be like, oh, hey, we're here for Austin. We'd be like, well, I mean, if you're going to be here for Austin, they're not here yet. Why don't you sit down? The only person who told us no in New Orleans on that little Austin gamut was Desmond Howard.
Surprise. I've just ever since that would have been before.
That was before.
He was
we gave him another chance, and then
we found out about Desmond Howard. If you don't agree with him, then you're
well, you're everybody on the set of the show he's on.
Yeah.
You're
right.
It's just it's grown and it's exploded, and then of course we went in 2021, which was after the 2020 of the COVID year, and it was us and Dave was over here, and then local radio stations and no one else. Like it was,
it was as big as this room.
103.7 Rocks in Tampa. We're here, the Radio Row. No one else is. Like we had no guests on site. Every guest we had was on was remote. But the reason we decided to do it, and we went up right to the line of should we even bother with this, was, well, we're this new media entity. If they say yes now, we need to get it under the wire. And if they ever tell us no, the trump card we will play is, we sat in that room in Tampa. We got interrogated leaving the room one day because they're like, some guys did some stuff. And we're like, we were just like right there. And then we just sit there with this dude from the FBI who was working for NFL security. And he was like, so we're like, so cool gun.
Yeah.
So this is and he's like, no, I just got to hold you guys here for a second. And we're like, all right, well.
Yeah, no, and then one lady, she was up, they had they had like more people guarding looking for someone not wearing a mask than radio stations.
But see, she would come over and say, put your mask back on, and we're all like, look, we appreciate what you're trying to do, and we know that, like, I get, but we can't talk like this the whole time. And you coming over here now put it, like, the closest person to us was 100 feet away. At any given time, 100 feet away, unless you walked over to them.
Yep.
And,
no, you're right.
Yeah. So unless you did that, like, you were not, in the zone. So also the cleanest place I've ever been in my life outside of my own house because of my wife was that, like, they were, disinfecting constantly, and it was also the least amount of people in any given area at the time. You just walk right outside, and then people in Tampa are just all gathered eating. It was Tampa; they weren't afraid of it anymore. So it was such a weird thing. But we didn't go the next year in LA because we're like, man, if Tampa was nuts, then LA is going to be nuts. And I don't think we really missed anything. So, but then we started the streak back up again. So
what happened to Radio Row in 1993? A small group of radio stations set up shop in a hotel conference room. That's what it was. It was right outside of all these big, and it's crazy. I know we got to go, Garrett, to get to our next segment, but what Chad President, now Temple High School football coach, played at Tulsa, went to high school at Temple High School. But it is, I'd say at the most 12 or 15. I don't know if Mike and the Mad Dog were doing theirs from Radio Row at some point. And then what happened, of course, it exploded. And now you have people, there's some that aren't even here. They're like broadcasting, like on the balconies of hotels and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool deal. All right, when we come back, Chad President taking the job at his alma mater, 365 Sports in New Orleans.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
If you want quality and personalized service for all your air conditioning and heating needs, call Tradesman Services. They're a family-owned and operated company that has served Texans for over 30 years. Tradesman offers maintenance plans starting at just $12 per month and a free service call for all new customers. They're also experts in geothermal design, installation, and service. Visit them online at coolingwaco.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Alan Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Alan Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com.
Here's Barkley, a little shovel, looking for an edge, gets it, Saquon Barkley, first down, Barkley, oh! Saquon, touchdown!
Live from Radio Row for Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, this is 365 Sports. Radio Row coverage is brought to you by Alan Samuels House of Travel, the official travel sponsor of 365 Sports. Now, here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Temple head football coach, Chad President. His alma mater led him to championship games. One of perhaps my favorite interviews in 40-plus years of covering high school football back in the day. But it wasn't that long ago. Chad, what's it like when I mention you're the head coach at Temple and when you found that out?
Really a dream come true. All the hard work paying off. I always knew I wanted to be at Temple and be a head coach at Temple. And, you know, to get asked the question, would you be interested in being the head coach at Temple, it just brought me to tears. And just thought about all the trials and tribulations that I've been through, my family's been through, and just glad all the hard work is paying off.
It is one of the, when you think of blue bloods like you have in college football, like Ohio State, Alabama, etc., in high school football, Temple. In fact, I noticed this yesterday. Lufkin announced their new head coach. Todd Quick retired, and Alsbeck came in. And then at Temple, you, of course, now are the head coach. Those are two, like, one-horse town deluxe, and you're now in charge of that. This is a place that has unbelievable tradition. You were a part of that tradition. What can you do to make sure it's back to being more consistent than it's been?
I think you have to first surround yourself with a good staff, not just at the high school, but at the middle schools as well. Really have to get involved in the youth football programs around town, and make sure everything's kind of aligning from youth football to middle school to high school, and then get very involved in the school building as well. and then also get out in the community and, meet business people or people that want to invest in Temple athletics, get in front of the booster club, try to get the booster club up and running how you want it to run. Just make sure everybody's involved. And then, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the culture of the program. And we've done a great job this first month in January of kind of resetting some expectations, kind of what we want to do, setting goals. And so, I'm just glad that, everything's kind of done. It's been a long month, dealing with the interview process. And then we had our football banquet this past Thursday. So now everything's kind of off everybody's shoulders. And so now we can just focus on getting stronger, getting faster, and then looking forward to spring ball, summer workouts, and then, 2-a-days in August.
You know the history, but you were there last season with Scott. You were the offensive coordinator, of course, the year before that at Midway. How much being there last season does that help you know more other than what you already knew?
I think it just gave everybody a chance to kind of get to know Chad President, the football coach. Everybody knows Chad President, the football player. And so I got to build some relationships, kind of show my growth, make new relationships, as well as, not everybody that was once my teacher or administrator is still here. And so everybody knew of me. So getting in front of those people and just creating relationships, creating bonds, and, kind of setting goals and expectations, not just for the football program, but just for kids in general, and trying to follow that. And our teachers have been great. We started an academic contract for our athletes, and so they've been real receptive to that. And so I think that was the biggest thing this past year, and I'm looking forward to the future.
How much of the interview process was about the tradition of Temple, from everything that's been around forever? And again, sometimes there are things that need to be new. There are things that need to be changed. It's your program, but it is a very proud city and town when it comes to Temple Wildcat football.
It's a blessing to have just a one-horse town. There's a lot of them around here in Central Texas and around the state. And luckily, we don't have to split with any other high school or anything like that. But really, in the interview process, it was kind of just really trying to get to know me, knowing how I will handle a staff, how I will communicate with parents, things that I want to implement in the program, staff expectations and things of that nature. Really wasn't no questions about the traditions of Temple. But, just kind of getting to know me, and I get to know a little bit about, our committees, people that were on the committee, get to know them a little bit as well. And so it was a fun process. I'm very blessed and very thankful that, I got to go through the process, and it wasn't just one of those, here's the keys, go ahead and, take off and run with it. You know what I mean? And so I'm very thankful that our administration, our athletic director, they did it the right way, because I wanted to feel like I earned it, and I did earn it. And so I'm just very happy, not just for myself, but also for our staff. I mean, we got a great group of young coaches, experienced coaches. And so very fired up that everybody, for the most part, wants to stay and gets to stay. And so that's kind of the main thing for me. That was kind of my motivation, was, getting this job, not just for myself, but also for our staff.
Did you ever feel like you weren't going to get it?
You never trying to doubt yourself. It was hard waiting around for kind of almost a month and a half, and going through Christmas break, not knowing really, how it's going to play out, when it's going to play out. And so, but you try to show up to work every day. The thing that separated me was I was interviewing every day, kind of being on campus, being in the school building, running the off-season program. And so I think that's kind of what separated me, is everybody got to see me really interview and really see me in action, and then just kind of go in the interview and kind of answer some questions and the best of my ability and get to show my true self. And so I never doubted myself. I was just waiting around, kind of really just on edge to see, and really was waiting around for the kids. The kids need stability. They need something to look forward to. And so once it got announced yesterday, I'm sure, maybe you saw the videos on Twitter and things of that nature, but the kids were very excited and, just came up to me one by one and just congratulated me. But I told the kids, it's all about you guys. This program is because of you. You're going to follow the expectations. You're going to do what it takes for us to win. And so just very fired up right now.
What was it like for you when they announced in the athletic complex and you were around the kids who you've been with, the young men? What was it like when the superintendent and others announced your name?
It's a surreal moment. You dream of moments like that. I've dreamed of the moment like that, not knowing how it would look or how I would feel. And so just really a lot of emotions, a lot of excitement, They almost dogpiled me and knocked me on my feet, but luckily my knees are still strong enough to hold me up. But just a lot of excitement, and we didn't spend too much time, kind of celebrating. You know what I mean? We kind of did our little dogpile, little rah-rah moment, and then, it was back to work after that, because in the weight room on Fridays, it's game day. And so the kids handled it well. Just gave them a little bit of excitement and things to look forward to going through the weekend, and can't wait for Monday to roll back around and get to see those kids again.
How much do you talk to Bob McQueen, or how much have you over the years, and even about the possibility of taking over this program?
I talked to Coach McQueen when I first got here last year. He kind of swung by the field house, and we kind of just had a sit down conversation. He was just asking me about the offensive scheme, what kind of offense we're going to run, and things of that nature. And then he's been here forever, and he has a lot of great stories, great memories, and kind of some great words that you can use to build your culture for a program. And talk to him that time. And then in the last couple of days, he was at the football banquet Thursday. Got to talk to him then, and then I talked to him yesterday when it all got announced. And so it's been really good. I don't know if you know this, but there's only 2 head coaches at Temple High School that were a graduate at Temple High School and played at Tulsa University, and that's Bob McQueen and Chad President.
I did not know that about Bob, his collegiate history. I did not know that. I know you have a lot on your plate, and I'm telling you, I know a lot of big names, a lot of people wanted or were interested in that job, and they should, because of what it represents. I am thrilled for you. I really am.
Thank you.
I don't consider you family, but by God, you're pretty close to it. Love what you represent. Always did from the first time I interviewed you. I know you got so much to do. Congratulations. 28, is that right? 28 years old?
Yes, sir.
And in charge of among the greatest among the greatest programs in Texas football history. When I say that one more time, do you kind of go, wow?
Yeah, I mean, I do go, wow. You talk about a program that is, has the third or fourth most wins in Texas football history. You talk about being I think I'm right on this, the youngest 6A head coach in the state. And then you talk about being the first African-American to be the head coach at Temple High School. It's just a lot of, it's just a real moment. You really don't think about things, but when you sit back and kind of get to decompress, I mean, I'm just very thankful. I'm very blessed. I've prayed about this a lot. My family has prayed about this a lot. A lot of emotions yesterday. I'm going to see my family today. There's going to be a lot more emotions. And then, after that, it's when Monday hits back around, the feet are on the ground and it's time to go to work.
Go get your job done and also enjoy it. Take a deep breath for a second. I know you will. Can't wait to see you face to face. Thanks for your time, Chad. Congratulations, young man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Temple football coach, Chad President. I'm David Smoak, and this is 365 Sports.
If you're looking for a wheeled cooler, this is the Arctic 52-quart ultralight wheeled cooler. I hauled it on a deck, I hauled it downstairs, upstairs, grass, gravel, sandy road, mud puddles, the whole bit. And I gotta say, it is pretty darn tough. I really do like the wheels and the tow handle. It's easy to hold on to, even when full. It made it 6 full days with ice present, still keeping cool enough temperatures to keep drinks cold. This is a great cooler. And if you're looking for a new wheeled cooler that tows really nicely, this is a great option.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
There are hundreds of things that can affect our sleep, but what's affecting yours? Sleep Doctor's Home Sleep Test brings the precision of a sleep lab into the comfort of home to help you get answers and unlock a lifetime of great sleep. Start now at sleepdoctor.com/TV.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5. I know you're confused. How was I just in New Orleans and here? I told you I couldn't teleport, but maybe I can, and change clothes while doing it. Anyways, this is the Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Friday we did quarterbacks. Today we're doing running backs in the 2025 NFL Draft. By far the deepest position, and these 5 are the ones that I like the most, but there's about 13 to 17 that I would take on my team right away because I think they can help you in one facet or another. But these are the guys who I think can for sure be bell cows in the NFL. Number 5, Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. Kind of overlooked because of the quarterback disaster they had this year with Mac Brown leaving and retiring. Or he got fired, but he's now retired and probably going back into media. Omarion Hampton is a player who, big chunks of yards. Absolutely, you can give him 25 or 30 carries a game and not worry about it. And with the renaissance of running backs, he is someone who's not quite in that Derrick Henry mold because by God, who is, but he is a big guy who can carry the load, move the chains for you, and win games. And that's been really important as defenses have figured out the spread offenses in the NFL. Number 4, Quinshawn Judkins from Ohio State. This is a dual threat back, passing game, running game, whatever. Perfect running back build, absolute burner speed. You saw him just dealing out punishment in the national championship game. This guy can help your team and help your team fast. I also wouldn't be surprised to see him get an opportunity to return kicks early on at the next level. Number 3, Caleb Johnson from Iowa. Absolute bruiser when it comes to running the ball, gets you first downs. The best running back Iowa's had in a while, and they always have good ones. Their whole offense is built around not using the forward pass. Caleb Johnson, chain mover this year. Definite NFL back, definite bell cow, no questions asked. Number 2, my second favorite player in all of college football, or tied for 1 and 1A, and you're about to hear the first, but Cam Skattebo. I know that he may not get picked before some of these guys because I think that maybe scouts have these kind of generalized ideas in their head about what they want a running back to be. And he is a lot of those and something else. This guy is a playmaker. He is a punisher. He is an athlete. He can do a lot. He can move around the formation. He's great in the passing game. Cam Skattebo on an NFL roster is an absolute win because all people have done his whole life is doubt him, and if they want to go ahead and doubt him again, he's going to prove them wrong. And if you watch the Texas game, if you watch no other Cam Scattaboo performances other than that one, an NFL loaded defense, loaded with NFL talent. In fact, of those guys on the defense, at least 9 of their 11 starters will be NFL players, if not all 11. And he absolutely did what no one else could do to that defense all year long and destroyed them. He absolutely had them on their heels. That's a huge deal. That's something to watch when you think about how can this guy fit in the NFL. Well, how did he do against NFL talent? He kicked their ass. That's what he did. Anyway, and even though that was a losing effort, I know, but I promise you that there's nobody in burnt orange that wanted to see one more second of this guy right there. And number 1, obviously it's Ashton Jeanty, a special talent, a very, very special talent from Frisco, Texas, the home of the Dallas Cowboys. Literally, the home. That's where they live. That's where they spend 6 of the 7 days of the week in Frisco, Texas. Wouldn't it be nice to just bring this guy home? Jerry, you don't do much for us. But this guy, unbelievable. And if he gets to them at 12, or if you're worried about him not getting there, I don't know. I would be all for them trading up and getting him because they have not had a running back like this in a very, very long time. This is Emmitt Smith, Tony Dorsett level talent that you would be passing up. Don't do it. Make sure you get him. This is Barry Sanders level talent. Is he going to be Barry Sanders accomplished? I don't know. And if you want to know what he did against NFL caliber talent, Penn State, Oregon, all across the board. He played NFL talent over his career, and he routinely just shredded people. Special, special player. Ashton Jeanty, make sure you go get him if you're an NFL team, especially if you pick 12th and your home offices are in Frisco, Texas, and you're run by a crazy old man and his son. Do that. Do that. Will McClay, I know you and I are on the same page. Sell it on Jeanty. They love doing it with Deuce Vaughn. Still all for that one. Like to see more of him. Do it again. I'm sorry. That was my personal plea. Wherever Ashton Jeanty goes, he's going to be a badass. That's going to do it for the top 5, and that's going to do it for the show here from Radio Row in New Orleans.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much. We're back at it again tomorrow. We'll have some segments recorded. One note, the Big 12 schedule that's released tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Central. Arizona State, Baylor in Waco, September 20th. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech in Lubbock, October 25th. West Virginia, Rich Rod against Scott Frost and UCF is it's in Orlando on October 18th. The rematch between Arizona State, Iowa State will be in Week 10, November the 1st, at Iowa State. So that game's in Ames. Of course, the championship game was at AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
I can't wait for the Run It Back Bowl on October 18th, or the Nostalgia Bowl. What do we want to call it with Rich Rod and Frost?
I don't know. Was Rich Rod at West Virginia when Frost was at UCF?
No, but I mean, they both had the strategy of, hey, both of our coaches are gone. What should we do? Should we talk to someone new? The hell with that. No, let's go back.
Yeah.
And I'm not making fun of either AD because we love them both, but I'm just saying that was the strategy that they settled upon. And I'm very curious to see Rich Rodriguez in this new iteration in West Virginia because he's had to go kind of through the coaching ringer for a little while since he left, but Jacksonville State was on the upswing. He had something special going the last time he was there at West Virginia. That's why he got the Michigan job. And Scott Frost, can he recapture what made him so good at UCF?
I think he could have some success.
Can he recapture it, given the fact that, Rich Rod goes back to a situation that's remarkably similar to the one he left, even though they're in a different conference. Scott Frost goes back to one that is completely different than the one he left.
No, you're right. Yep. No, you're right. And man, he did a good job there. Of course, he had the one great year. It landed him a job, got a ton of money, didn't work out at Nebraska, but, I don't know who's going to work out at Nebraska. Matt Rule thinks it might be him, I hope. All right, Garrett Ross, great stuff today from here inside the Radio Row, inside NFL Media headquarters at the Convention Center. to Emery Winter as well. Thank you very much. And also all of our great sponsors who bring our coverage every day, and those who also chipped in a little bit more for our coverage here from New Orleans. Thanks to Alan Samuels, House of Travel. Garrett, how about our house, huh?
It's awesome.
Spectacular.
Spectacular.
Thank you very much. Appreciate Bill Denton for that and so much more. For Paul and Garrett, Emery, I'm David Smoak. Have a great night. Good night from New Orleans on 365 Sports.